Chapter 1567. As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon sword realm quickly appeared beside him. Suddenly, tens of thousands of swords she pierced through the sky, and the entire void seemed to have become a killing ground. The monstrous aura stirred up the clouds as if it could kill gods and demons. What? This sword chi? Lu Chao felt the sword chi emitted by the dragon sword realm, and his face changed drastically. To be honest, he had never felt such a sharp sword chi, even though he was far away and had the protection of the king realm. However, he was still able to sense the killing intent brought about by the sword aura. The hair on his body stood on end. Damn it, how can his realm be so strong? I don't believe it! Lu Chao gritted his teeth and crazily activated the Red King realm. Suddenly, endless flames shot up into the sky, and 8 fire dragons circled around his body as they quickly charged forward. Mirror still water! Lin Xian was expressionless. He waved his hand, and the dragon's sword realm trembled. Countless sword chi circled around, forming a huge sword screen. It was like a mirror, incomparably bright and clean. The 8 fire dragons carried monstrous heat waves as they fiercely collided with the mirror. Immediately, all of them were bounced back. What? All of them were bounced back? How is this possible? Lu Chao was shocked and couldn't believe it. The few inner disciples below had already widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. Everyone knew how terrifying Lu Chao was. Among the inner disciples, no one was a match for him. Even among the core disciples, he was one of the stronger ones. But now, a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect was actually able to compete with Lu Chao, and even suppress him. This made them unable to believe it. Impossible, damn it, I don't believe it! How can you be so strong? Lu Chao's hair was disheveled, and his face was ferocious. I can only say that you are ignorant. Originally I had no enmity with you, but you tried to kill me time and time again. So, you only have yourself to blame. Now it's all over. Lin Xian pulled out the 9 darkness demon sword, and tens of thousands of sword chi circled around him. He was like a sword demon, incomparably terrifying. It's over? Impossible. I still have many secret techniques, and I still have pills to increase my strength. Kid, let me tell you, my methods are not something you can imagine. As long as I don't hesitate to increase my strength, I can even compete with a 5-star king. What do you have to fight me? Today, I will teach you how to kill. After saying that, Lu Chao flipped his palm. Immediately, 2 red pills appeared in his palm. As long as he swallowed 2 red pills, he would be able to stimulate the potential in his body and temporarily obtain great power. However, Lin Xian's expression was ice-cold. He held the 9 Serenity's demonic sword and quickly moved it in the air. Underworld Dao Waning Moon Break! With a wave of his sword, an invisible force condensed in the air. Crack, crack! A black crack appeared in the air. It was incomparably terrifying and emitted a strange aura. It was as if a peerless demon had opened its terrifying mouth and was about to devour everything. In the next moment, the spatial crack enveloped Lu Chao's figure. Ah! With a miserable shriek, Lu Chao was sucked into the black crack and disappeared. Soon after, the pitch-black crack began to slowly heal. The sky regained its clarity, but Lu Chao's figure had already disappeared. Only the remnant energy still lingered in the surroundings. What happened? Below, a few inner sect disciples saw this scene and looked at each other. But after waiting for a long time, they did not see Lu Chao again. This gave them a bad premonition. What did you do to Brother Chao? A few of them asked in horror. He was no longer in this world. Lin Xian shook his head coldly. The move just now had directly cut open the void and connected to the void. Lu Chao was exiled by him and could not return at all. This outcome was even more terrifying than being killed. You are a demon, not a human! A few inner sect disciples felt their skin crawl and turned around to run. Want to run? Hee hee! The Crimson Dragon sneered. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out several red rays of light that pierced through a few of them. With a wave of his dragon claw, a terrifying dragon flame gushed out and burned the corpses to ashes. After doing all this, he stopped and returned to Lin Xian's side. Let's go, it's about time to go back. Alright then, let's go to the other mountains next time. The Crimson Dragon glanced into the distance. Indeed, strictly speaking, they had not entered Feng Mountain yet. They were only at the periphery. Therefore, there were not many people around. It seemed that the real Feng Mountain and the great ancient tomb would be even more terrifying than the previous cave. The two of them turned into lightning and flew into the sky and disappeared. Lu Chao's incident had caused a stir in the sect. After all, he was a core disciple and was quite strong. This kind of person was the elite of Danzong's disciples. However, after the alchemy sect investigated, they did not discover who did it. Moreover, the culprit disappeared in Feng Mountain. It was very likely that another sect or some existence in the great ancient tomb had done it. Therefore, the sect could only give up on investigating. On the other hand, Lin Xian had also returned to Danzong. He stayed for a few days and then prepared to look for Chuyu. He now knew that Chuyu was also a core disciple. However, what surprised him was that Chuyu's cultivation had not reached the level of a 4-star king. However, to be able to become a core disciple meant that Chuyu's attainments in alchemy were extraordinary. However, in the past few days, he found out that Chuyu was not only a core disciple, but also an extremely powerful one among the core disciples. Personal disciple. That's right, Chuyu was the personal disciple of Elder Danzong. His status was even more honorable than a core disciple like Lu Chao. Lin Xian finally understood why the other party could arrange for him to enter Danzong so easily. It turned out that he was a personal disciple. However, this was even better. He believed that the other party must have a way to promote him and make him a core disciple. The alchemy sect was located in the middle of a mountain range. The inner and core disciples were not on the same mountain. Therefore, Lin Xian had to fly away from the inner disciples to the core disciples' residence. After flying for about half an hour, he lowered his body and arrived at the foot of the mountain. Just as he was about to enter, a cold shout suddenly came from the front. Stop! This voice was like a clap of thunder. It was abnormally terrifying and caused the void to tremble. Hearing this voice, Lin Xian frowned, but he still stopped. Soon, 6 disciples flew over from afar like rainbows. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the core disciples' residence? Aren't you afraid of being killed? This is not a place where you can enter. Leave quickly. You misunderstand. I'm here to look for someone, Lin Xian said slowly. Look for someone? Who is it? The guards asked coldly. They were not core disciples and were only guards in charge of guarding this place. However, their status and strength had already surpassed most of the inner disciples. They were very powerful. Therefore, apart from the core disciples, they did not take anyone seriously. Chapter 1568. I'm looking for Chuyu, Lin Xian said indifferently. Chuyu? Hearing this, their expressions changed. Clearly, they knew Chuyu's identity. Fairy Chuyu is a personal disciple. Why are you looking for her? That's right. How could a mere inner disciple know a personal disciple? Kid, I advise you not to lie. Otherwise, you'll end up in a miserable state. Whether I know Chuyu or not, wouldn't you know once you report to her? Lin Xian's expression was calm. If it were an ordinary inner disciple, they would probably be trembling in fear when facing these guards. However, he wouldn't. No matter how strong they were only 3-star kings. As for him, he was someone who could even kill a 4-star king. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't take these guards seriously. Report to you? The guard's lips curled into a cold smile. Kid, we're very busy. We don't have time to report to you. You'd better come another day. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. What were they busy with? They obviously wanted to get some benefits from him. However, Lin Xian didn't plan to give these people any benefits. He snorted. What, you want to extort me? Aren't you afraid that I'll report this to the sect? Report to the sect? Then go report it. See if the sect will believe you? The guards sneered. Clearly, they often did this kind of thing. Is that so? If the sect doesn't care, then what about Chuyu? Let me tell you, I'm looking for Fairy Chuyu because of an urgent matter. If it's delayed, can you bear the consequences? When the time comes and Fairy Chuyu punishes you, I'm afraid you'll end up worse than me, Lin Xian said slowly. You dare threaten us? Kid, you're courting death. The guards were furious. One of them even snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Immediately, a huge force surged toward Lin Xian. A mere inner disciple dares to behave atrociously in front of us? You're courting death. Today I'll teach you a good lesson. I'll let you know what kind of attitude you should have in front of me. The sleeve trembled, and like a floating cloud, it suddenly grew larger in the wind. It was like a cage of heaven and earth that was about to suck Lin Xian in. This was a very terrifying skill called the Heaven and Earth Sleeve. It was rumored that when it was refined to the extreme, it could swallow the heavens and absorb the earth. Of course, it was impossible for the guardian disciple before him to achieve such a feat, however. Collecting the mountains and rivers was not an issue for him at all. The terrifying sleeve enveloped Lin Xian and was about to swallow him whole. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a flick of his finger, several streaks of sharp sword chi surged out, transforming into a long river that soared into the clouds. Pung pung pung. That terrifying heaven and earth sleeve was instantly slashed by the sword chi and instantly exploded. In an instant, the terrifying scene disappeared. The guardian disciple even took a few steps back, his face extremely ugly. Above his wrist, the wide sleeves were already shattered. You! His face was ferocious as he stared at Lin Xian. The surrounding guardian disciples also had ferocious expressions. They did not expect that a mere inner disciple would be so powerful that he could destroy the heaven and earth sleeve with a raise of his hand. How dare you behave atrociously here? Take him down! With a furious roar, the remaining guardian disciples immediately moved, wanting to capture Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a flash of his palm, the dragon's sword realm quickly flew out. In an instant, it completely enveloped the remaining 5 guardian disciples. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sword chi was like a rainbow, incomparably sharp and filled with monstrous killing intent. Countless sword chi surged and surrounded the 5 guardian disciples. As long as they moved, they would be pierced by the sword chi, and hundreds and thousands of holes would appear on their bodies. Immediately, the guardian disciples were stunned, and their faces were extremely ugly. They did not expect that the other party could actually subdue all of them in an instant. One had to know that they were all 3-star kings. And the other party's aura was only that of a 2-star king. How was this possible? Even the strongest inner sect disciples wouldn't be able to do something like this, right? However, they had all seen the strongest few people. But the young man in front of them was incomparably unfamiliar. It was obvious that he had just joined the inner sect. That was why they were so arrogant before, but they did not expect that they would almost be killed. Thinking of this, cold sweat dripped down their bodies, and they no longer dared to be presumptuous in front of Lin Xian. Stop, let's talk nicely. We were wrong before, we apologize to you. We'll go report for you now. The few of them hurriedly apologized. They had no choice. If they dared to say anything else, the sword chi would probably kill them immediately. Hearing this, Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, he removed the dragon sword realm. Soon, the few guardian disciples left to report the news. However, Chuyu did not come out. Instead, a young man in a blue robe walked out. Fairy Chuyu is in seclusion refining a kind of pill, so she can't split herself. Since you want to find her, I'll bring you in. The blue-clothed young man said coldly. Moreover, he carefully sized up Lin Xian. When he saw the identity of the disciple and the cultivation of a 2-star king, a slight hint of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. All right. Lin Xian nodded. He did not expect that the person who came out was not Chuyu, but someone he did not know at all. Looking at the other party's arrogant expression and strong aura, there was no need to think to know that he should be a core disciple. However, he did not care about the other party's attitude, as long as the other party could bring him in. Nodding, Lin Xian followed the blue-clothed young man into the mountain range where the core disciples lived. As soon as they entered, the blue-clothed young man walked in front with large strides and said coldly, "This is where the core disciples live, far surpassing your inner sect. There are formations everywhere here, and there are even traps in some places. It can be said that one wrong step will consign you to eternal damnation. With your strength and identity, you don't have the qualifications to enter this place. However, I'll bring you in for Chuyu's sake. However, you have to know your limits and follow me closely. Don't wander around. Do you hear me clearly?" the blue-clothed young man said coldly. However, Lin Xian did not answer. Instead, he sped up and walked side by side with the blue-clothed young man. "Don't worry, I have some understanding of formations. There shouldn't be any danger." Lin Xian looked around and said indifferently, "Even if there is any danger, I can deal with it." Hearing this, the blue-clothed young man's face darkened. In his opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. A small inner sect disciple with a cultivation of only a 2-star king actually dared to boast that he was proficient in formations and could even resist the formations here? The array formation here was no ordinary array formation. Each of them was extremely terrifying, and inner sect disciples could not withstand them at all. Even if it was a core disciple, if they accidentally entered, it would be very troublesome. Chapter 1569. However, core disciples were very familiar with the surrounding terrain, so under normal circumstances, they would not enter these formations. "Kid, it seems that you're very confident in yourself. Since that's the case, I'm relieved." The man in blue sneered, his eyes full of disdain. He did not believe Lin Xian's words at all. Therefore, he planned to teach him a lesson and let him know what it meant to be arrogant. In the next moment, the man in blue's figure swayed, and he could not help but speed up. Like a bolt of blue lightning, he instantly disappeared on the spot and walked forward. Soon, he arrived at a safe place. "Proficient in formations? Can you handle it? Humph! What an idiot! Let me see how you're going to pass through the formations and traps there." The man in blue raised a disdainful smile, because in his opinion, the other party would not be able to walk out at all. If he left, he would probably fall into the formation very quickly. At that time, he wanted to see if the other party could still be arrogant. The man in blue revealed a sinister smile. To be honest, if the other party was not looking for Chuyu, he would have slapped the other party to death. "Is that so? I think senior brother is overthinking. Are the formations here as magical as you say?" At this moment, a light voice was heard. Hearing this voice, the man in blue jumped in fright. He suddenly turned around and found Lin Xian standing not far away from him. Immediately, his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. "How is this possible? How is this possible? How could he walk out of those formations and traps so quickly?" One had to know that he had displayed his powerful speed just now. No one below 4-star king could keep up with him. However, the other party had arrived here at almost the same time as him. It was too strange. Lin Xian saw the other party's shocked expression, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a mocking smile. Then, he said indifferently, "Senior brother, let's go. I have something important to talk to Fairy Chuyu about." "Humph!" Seeing the other party's disdainful smile, the man in blue's face became gloomy. His eyes flickered with a trace of killing intent. To be honest, he had never been so embarrassed before. Moreover, it was in front of a small inner sect disciple. This made him want to kill him. However, after thinking for a moment, he gave up in the end. Because he didn't know what the relationship between this kid and Chuyu was. Chuyu was a personal disciple. Her status was even higher than that of a core disciple. If he really killed her now, Chuyu would blame him. At that time, he would be the unlucky one. The blue-clothed young man snorted again and said coldly, "Come with me." In the end, he brought Lin Xian to the mountain peak where Chuyu lived. Fairy Chuyu is inside. You can wait outside. After saying that, he turned into a blue light and left without looking back. Lin Xian clasped his hands behind his back and looked ahead curiously. The mountains and rivers were clear, just like a fairyland. It was indeed a good place to live and cultivate. This treatment is really different, Lin Xian sighed. He only had a single courtyard, but the core disciples all had their own mountain peaks. This was a world of difference. With a flicker, Lin Xian arrived at the peak of the mountain. There were several palaces in front of him, but he didn't enter. Instead, he found an ancient tree and sat down cross-legged to cultivate. About 2 hours later, a strange fragrance came from the palaces in front of him. The fragrance was very strong. When one smelled it, one would feel the spiritual energy in one's body boil. This is a pill fragrance. Lin Xian opened his eyes and revealed a trace of surprise. He could imagine that it was definitely not an ordinary pill. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused such a strange fragrance. A profound pill! It looks like it's at least a mid-grade profound pill. Lin Xian was shocked. Profound pills were pills used by kings. They were divided into 4 grades: basic, mid-grade, high-grade, and supreme grade. Different grades had different effects. Generally, people below 3-star kings would only use basic grade profound pills. It was very rare to encounter a mid-grade profound pill. After all, even though it was just a difference of 1 word, a mid-grade profound pill was very difficult to refine. With Lin Xian's current state, the failure rate was very high. However, he didn't expect that Chu Yu would actually succeed. He had to admit that it really surprised him. Soon, the pill fragrance disappeared. Then, the doors of the palaces in front of him slowly opened, and a beautiful figure walked in. It was a tall and slender woman. She wore an aqua-green robe. Her skin was fair, and her face was exquisite. She looked like a fairy. There was still a faint fragrance on her body. Congratulations on successfully refining a mid-grade profound pill, Lin Xian walked up and said with a smile. Why are you here? Seeing the person in front of him, Chu Yu was stunned for a moment, then smiled. I didn't expect that. Not only are you strong, but your eyesight is also very sharp. You can tell at a glance that I'm refining a mid-grade profound pill. Don't laugh at me. I'm just a small inner disciple now. How can I compare to you, a direct disciple? Come in. Chu Yu rolled his eyes and waved his hand. Then, Lin Xian walked in. How is it? Are you used to living in Danzong? Chu Yu asked. It's okay, but it's not as comfortable as you core disciples. Of course. Chu Yu smiled. The status of a core disciple and an inner disciple are completely different. It's like the difference between heaven and earth. Then, she asked suspiciously, No way, you're thinking about becoming a core disciple again? That's right, that's why I came to find you. Heavens, how many days have you been in the inner sect? Only a month? You want to become a core disciple already? That's too fast, isn't it? I'm afraid this has never happened in the history of Danzong. Chu Yu was shocked. However, Lin Xian smiled and said, It didn't happen in the past, but it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Also, I heard that some core disciples have disappeared. I don't know if they're dead or alive. I'm afraid they won't be coming back. Do you have any way to prevent me from becoming a core disciple? Lin Xian asked. Okay. After a while, Chu Yu came back to her senses. Indeed, Lu Chao of the core disciples disappeared in Fengshan. I don't think he'll be coming back. So, it's certain that a new core disciple will be chosen. And it's probably something that happened recently. I have to say, you're really lucky. You've just arrived and you've already encountered something like this. One had to know that under normal circumstances, an inner sect disciple might not encounter something like this even after 8 to 10 years. Lin Xian only smiled, but in his heart he muttered, How can I not be lucky? Lu Chao was killed by me. A core disciple, a 4-star king. With such a terrifying status and strength, no one would dare to provoke him. Not to mention 8 to 10 years, he might not even die in a few decades. Lu Chao deserved it. Daring to provoke him was simply courting death. Chapter 1570. At this moment, Chiyu said again. According to past experience, whenever there's a vacancy in the core disciple position, the top 10 inner disciples will be selected to compete. The winner will become the new core disciple. I think this time will be no exception. Top 10 inner disciples? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Can you give me a spot? Chiyu smiled. I've helped you so much. What do you have to give me? Elixir recipe. Elixir recipe? Chiyu was confused. This is Danzong. There are countless elixir recipes. I'm a direct disciple. I can have any elixir recipe I want. You're fooling me with this condition. What if it's an ancient elixir recipe? Lin Xian smiled. What? Ancient elixir recipe? You have an ancient elixir recipe? Chiyu was shocked. Then, she quickly asked, what grade is it? Middle grade Xian elixir. Chiyu sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian smiled. I can give it to you now. He flipped his palm and took out a jade slip. However, Chiyu received the jade slip and quickly examined it. After a while, she smiled. Yes, it's an ancient elixir recipe. It's a mid-grade Xian elixir. Where did you get such a good thing? Chiyu asked curiously. Even in Danzong, there weren't many ancient elixir recipes. It was good to have one more. Lin Xian smiled and said, I found it in an ancient ruin. You could say that it was a coincidence. Of course, he was lying. He had many elixir recipes like this. The inheritance of the Niwa of Gojoseon wasn't very useful to him now. However, he still had Lord Alcohol. Moreover, the fourth-generation successor of the Dragon Sword had collected many elixir recipes. Therefore, he had a lot of elixir recipes. Then I'll accept it. On the other side, Chiyu happily accepted the elixir recipe. Then, she said, don't worry about the challenge. I'll arrange it for you. However, I must remind you that the battle this time around will likely be very intense. Because becoming a core disciple is equivalent to a carp leaping through the dragon's gate. Therefore, those inner disciples will fight for it with their lives. That's not a problem. I'm confident, Lin Xian said calmly. Indeed, no matter if it was battle prowess or alchemy, he had absolute confidence in both. All right then. I'll let you know when there's news. Chiyu nodded. As a direct disciple, her strength was frighteningly great. Thus, this kind of matter was still within her capabilities. After that, Lin Xian left. On the other side, the entire inner sect was in an uproar because the news was spreading everywhere. That was to choose a new core disciple. It wasn't a secret that core disciple Lu Chao had disappeared. Everyone in Danzong knew about it. The ones who were the most excited were, of course, the inner court disciples. This was especially true for the top inner sect disciples. Normally, they would not have the opportunity to become core disciples. However, things were different now. Now that they were short of a core disciple, the sect would definitely quickly replenish them. The core disciple would be chosen among the inner court disciples. Of course, the ordinary inner court disciples had no hope at all. They could only watch the show. Only the top inner court disciples had a chance to fight for it. This is so exciting. The core disciple selection this time will probably be the fiercest battle in the sect. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen such an intense battle. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Indeed. However, thinking about it, the one who has the highest chance of becoming an inner court disciple must be Chiyu. He's widely acknowledged as the #1 inner court disciple. However, Luo Yuan is also quite powerful. I heard that his cultivation has improved greatly recently. Perhaps he might even surpass Chiyu. Yeah, and my goddess Luo Shi. Her alchemy skills are unparalleled and her strength is superb. She will definitely become a core disciple. Everyone was discussing animatedly. Lin Xian happened to pass by. When he heard these names, he raised his eyebrows. They should be the strongest among the inner court disciples. However, he didn't care. With his current strength, he didn't need to care about anyone. As expected, 6 days later, The news of a new core disciple selection was officially announced by the sect. Suddenly, the entire inner court was in an uproar. At the same time, Lin Xian received a letter from Qiyu. The letter stated that he had obtained the qualification to participate in the core disciple selection. After receiving the news, Lin Xian smiled. He could finally become a core disciple. That way, he would be able to learn some secrets about the Danzong. Moreover, the core disciples had a very high status. They had the power to decide life and death. Some of the more powerful core disciples were actually not inferior to the elders. If he could obtain the position of a core disciple, it would be a good thing for Lin Xian. As for the other inner court disciples, they gathered at the side to look at the names. Qiyu, Luo Yuan, and Luo Shi, one by one, familiar names appeared in front of them. That's right, the top 10. They are indeed the top 10 inner court disciples. I knew it. Everyone nodded. It was the same in the past. The top 10 inner court disciples competed for a core disciple position. However, they were soon stunned. Because they found the 11th person at the bottom of the list. Lin Xian. Who is Lin Xian? Is he famous? I don't know. I've never heard of him. We all know the famous geniuses in the inner court, but we've never heard of Lin Xian. Who is he? For a moment, everyone was very confused and started discussing. Obviously, they could not understand this name that suddenly appeared. However, soon someone said, "Oh right, wasn't there an inner court disciple who just entered a month ago? I think his name is Lin Xian." What? A new inner court disciple who just entered a month ago. Lin Xian? Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. God, what kind of joke is this? A newcomer can enter the core disciple selection list? How is that possible? Yeah, could it be the same name? Maybe the sect made a mistake. Yeah, there were only 10 people before. Why are there 11 now? And it's a newcomer. This doesn't make sense. Everyone was discussing. However, in the end, they found that the sect did not make a mistake. Moreover, it was the newcomer who had just entered the inner court a month ago. Suddenly, everyone was in an uproar. The entire inner court was in an uproar. They could not understand how a newcomer who had just entered the inner court could be on the list. I heard that Lin Xian was promoted directly when he entered the inner court. It seems that he has some background. So what if he has a background? This time, he was promoted to a core disciple. It's not as simple as entering the inner court. Chapter 1571. The top 10 geniuses all have powerful backgrounds. Most of them have core disciples behind them, and some even have elders behind them. That's right. Even if there is one more person, it shouldn't be Lin Xian. The top 15 are all qualified to enter. But why is it a newbie? Everyone was dissatisfied with the decision. However, this was the sect's decision, and they could not change it. The crowd snorted. What's the point of being on the list? If he's not strong enough, he'll still be eliminated. That's right. He just entered the inner sect for a month. How powerful can he be? The last time I saw him, he was only a 1-star king. What? Only a 1-star king? That's not even as strong as me. Haha, I really want to see Lin Xian get beaten black and blue in the arena. Why bother? With his cultivation, he'll just humiliate himself. Everyone sneered. However, in the crowd, when Zhou Hai and the others saw this, their eyes widened in shock. They had seen Lin Xian's methods and knew that Lin Xian was not as simple as he looked. One had to know that even the extremely terrifying Fang Li had been killed by Lin Xian with ease. Therefore, they believed that Lin Xian would be able to participate in the core disciple competition. However, only a few of them believed him. Most of the others were sneering and jealous. Therefore, none of them thought highly of Lin Xian. As for the top 10 inner disciples, after hearing the news, they sneered, their eyes filled with disdain. None of them took Lin Xian seriously. In their eyes, a newbie who had just entered the inner sect was not worth mentioning. They could easily kill him with a finger. Their real targets were Qiyu, Luo Yuan, and Luo Shi. They were their real enemies. Danzong Baiyun Mountain. This was a very important place in the inner sect. Every time an elder gave a lesson, it would be held here. Today, there were no elders holding classes. However, the number of people that came to Mount Baiyun was countless times greater than before. On top of that, even more disciples were making their way here from all directions. Because today was the day of the inner court competition, the selection of core disciples. This kind of opportunity could be said to be extremely rare. Normally, there were very few opportunities to be promoted to core disciple. If Lu Chao hadn't gone missing, they wouldn't have obtained such a precious spot. In this place, the top disciples would engage in an intense battle. To the ordinary inner disciples, this was undoubtedly a grand battle event. Halfway up Mount Baiyun, there was a huge piece of flat land. It was covered with green stone slabs. It was the White Cloud Plaza. At this moment, countless people had gathered in the White Cloud Square. They were like dark clouds. Basically, all the inner disciples had arrived. The main characters of this competition, the elite disciples of the inner court, had also arrived one by one. Every time one of them appeared, it would cause a wave of exclamations. It could not be helped, as the top 10 inner disciples were extremely powerful and had outstanding reputations. They already possessed extremely high statuses among the inner disciples. The 10 inner disciples stood in a row at the front. Those people were wearing luxurious clothes and had a dignified appearance. They had a strong and confident aura. However, at this moment, another silhouette slowly walked forward. Who is that? Everyone was puzzled as they realized that it was an unfamiliar face. Young, handsome, and confident. However, when they sensed the cultivation of the other party, they were all dumbfounded. A 2-star king. He only had the cultivation of a 2-star king. Oh, I know. He's that Lin Xian. What? He's Lin Xian? He really dares to come? With his cultivation, he dares to come on stage. What a disgrace. He doesn't know what's good for him. I guess he's just a hothead. He thinks that he can become a core disciple just because he has a little background. But he doesn't know that this battle is about strength. Any schemes and tricks are useless. Cold laughter could be heard, and the entire plaza was in an uproar. When Lin Xian heard the voices around him, he narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. He didn't say anything to argue, because in a while, he would use his own strength to let everyone know who was the frog at the bottom of the well. Brother Lin, go for it! Zhou Hai and the others in the crowd cheered when they saw this. Lin Xian smiled and greeted Zhou Hai and the others. Soon, Lin Xian arrived at the front of the plaza. The 10 inner disciples in front of him looked arrogant, and looked at him with disdain. In their eyes, Lin Xian was not qualified to stand with them. Kid, get lost. This is not a place where you can come. I advise you to admit defeat and leave quickly. You'll only embarrass yourself later. A piece of trash wants to become a core disciple? What a joke! A few disdainful laughs could be heard. The others also looked at Lin Xian with arrogance on their faces. On the other hand, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at the 3 arrogant fellows. He asked coldly, "What are the names of the 3 geniuses?" "Yang Fan, Qing Feng, Wu Kun." The 3 of them said arrogantly and then sneered. Kid, you're really ignorant. You don't even know our names? Lin Xian said coldly. It's not too late to know now. I'll remember the 3 of you. I won't go easy on you in the battle later. I'll let you know the consequences of talking nonsense. After saying that, he turned around and stood aside. Kid, you're courting death. The 3 of them were furious. A new inner disciple dared to threaten the 3 of them? He was really courting death. The remaining 7 inner disciples also widened their eyes in disbelief. Their eyes kept sizing up Lin Xian, wondering where he got his confidence from. One had to know that he was only a 2-star king. So what if he was strong? At most, he was equivalent to a 3-star king. However, their cultivation was at the 3-star king level, and most of them were at the late stage of the 3-star king level. If they used some secret techniques, they could even compete with 4-star kings. They could be said to be extremely powerful. It could be said that they were the top group of people in the inner sect. Now, a new had dared to look down on them? It was truly unbelievable. Kid, I'll teach you a lesson now. You don't know your place. The few of them were about to attack. However, at this moment, a few air-rending sounds came from afar. Several figures flew over at high speed like rainbows. It's the core disciples and elders! In the crowd, the inner disciples exclaimed. Everyone looked up at the sky. Upon seeing this, the 3 inner disciples who were about to attack immediately halted their actions and harumphed coldly. Kid, you're lucky. However, you won't be so lucky in the battle later. Thank you, Angel Reincarnation, for giving you a worry-free reward. Chapter 1572. Kid, you're lucky, but you won't be so lucky in the competition. I'll cripple you in front of everyone. That's what you get for messing with us. Kid, you're dead meat. Just you wait. A few threatening voices were heard. Then, the 3 of them ignored Lin Xian and looked at the sky. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. He did not care about these 3 arrogant guys at all. No matter how strong they were only slightly stronger than Fang Li. Compared to a true core disciple like Lu Chao, they were a far cry. He could even kill Lu Chao, let alone these 3 inner sect disciples. He smirked and looked up at the sky as well. There were 5 or 6 rainbows in the sky. They were very fast and arrived above Baiyun Mountain in the blink of an eye. Then, they appeared on the square in a flash. 2 of them were elders in robes. Their hair and beards were white and they were full of power. The other 3 were young people, 2 men and 1 woman. The woman was Chu Yu. The other 2 young people were also handsome and they were surrounded by a bright light. Without a doubt, they were all core disciples. Greetings, elders! All the inner sect disciples shouted at the front. Then, they began to discuss quickly. Most of them looked at Chu Yu and the other 2. When the top 10 inner sect disciples saw Chu Yu and the others, their eyes turned red and they trembled with excitement. Idols, these were their idols. At the same time, they were extremely excited, because after today, one of them would become a core disciple like a carp leaping through the dragon gate. They would be above all the other inner sect disciples. Thinking of this, they were excited. Chu Yu looked in Lin Xian's direction and revealed a charming smile. Suddenly, the inner sect disciples went crazy. They had never seen such a beautiful smile before. So beautiful! Everyone exclaimed. I wonder who that fairy is smiling at? Needless to say, it must be one of the top 10 inner sect disciples. The others have no chance. The top 10 inner sect disciples were also excited and their eyes turned red. They thought that Chu Yu was smiling at them. However, only Lin Xian understood that Chu Yu was smiling at him. Thus, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled and nodded in response. Of course, no one was paying attention to Lin Xian. Otherwise, his actions would cause everyone to go crazy again. Then, under the instructions of the 2 elders, everyone retreated to the back, leaving enough space. At the center of the square, there was a 300-meter-long spirit formation stage that was shining with countless rays of light. All of a sudden, the spiritual energy in the surroundings began to surge violently and converge in this direction. This was a defensive array formation. Naturally, it was meant to protect White Cloud Mountain. Otherwise, with the means of these genius disciples, they would probably be able to destroy this mountain with a raise of their hand. The rules of the competition were very simple. Those who lost 3 or more matches in a row would be directly eliminated. Only when the final 3 were chosen would the final battle begin. Now, let the core disciple selection begin! A dignified voice rang out like a clap of thunder, spreading in all directions. Suddenly, the entire square quieted down. Everyone widened their eyes and looked ahead carefully. As for the inner sect genius disciples, they all held their breaths. They knew that it was time to test them. In front of them, on the White Cloud Square, the spirit formation stage flashed. Under the feet of Lin Xian and the other 10, there were also circles of light that flickered. When 2 of the circles lit up, it would be the time for the 2 to fight. This was a random selection. No one could tamper with it. Soon, the light flickered and the circles under the feet of two people lit up. Then, the two of them swayed and arrived at the spirit formation stage. One of the two young men was ranked 9th, Dingley, and the other was ranked 7th, the arrogant Wu Kun. Humph, Dingley, you're no match for me. Hurry up and back off before you embarrass yourself. Humph, we'll only know if I can beat you after we fight. Dingley, ranked 9th, gritted his teeth. Although his ranking was lower than Wu Kun's, he would not admit defeat. Humph, you're really stubborn. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson. Wu Kun sneered and quickly attacked. The two of them exchanged 50 moves. Dingley, ranked 9th, was hit by Wu Kun's punch and flew backward while vomiting blood. Humph, I told you, you're no match for me. Wu Kun defeated his opponent and looked very arrogant. At the same time, he turned his eyes and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, when you come up later, you'll end up worse than him. Sensing that aura, the surrounding disciples all trembled. Lin Xian, on the other hand, completely ignored the other party. Of course, this was just a small interlude. Next, the competition proceeded quickly. These disciples were the top geniuses of the inner sect. Each of them was extremely terrifying. Their fights were very exciting. Next, it was the young man named Yang Fan's turn. He was more powerful than Wu Kun, so he defeated his opponent in 30 moves. Qi Yu, Luo Yuan, and Enluoshi, who were ranked in the top 3, were even more powerful. They defeated their opponents in 10 moves. The three of them formed the first echelon and were above the rest. However, at this moment, a light flashed under Lin Xian's feet. Is it my turn? Lin Xian whispered. Then, his body flickered and he appeared in the arena in front of him. Haha, my luck is too good. I can't believe I've met an ant. This battle would be as easy as blowing off dust. At the same time, an arrogant laugh was heard. Then, a figure flew forward. Lin Xian's opponent was one of the arrogant young men, Qing Feng. He was ranked 10th and was very nervous. He was afraid that he would not be able to pass the first round. However, it seemed that his luck was too good. It was his first time meeting a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect. This was undoubtedly great news for him. Seeing this, the others also exclaimed, while the few inner court geniuses whispered to each other. Qing Feng was really lucky. It seemed that he could survive the first round. Yes, that kid is so weak. He could probably send him flying with one slap. What a pity. It seems that I don't have to do anything. Wu Kun sneered. But it was good. Qing Feng was enough to deal with that kid. At the same time, he did not forget to remind Qing Feng. Qing Feng, don't be soft. Teach this kid a lesson. Don't worry, Brother Wu. I know what to do. In the arena, Qing Feng replied. Then, he looked at Lin Xian and said coldly, Kid, how was it? You didn't expect this, did you? It's your misfortune to have met me. However, it's too late for you to beg for mercy now. I'll teach you a lesson in front of everyone. I'll let you know that ants are not allowed to come here. Then, he revealed a hideous smile. Chapter 1573. The others also laughed because no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. A 2-star king and a 3-star king were not on the same level. The outcome would be decided in one move. The surrounding inner sect disciples also looked on with a mocking expression. Even the 2 core disciples who came frowned. They could not imagine how a 2-star king could participate in such a competition. However, the 2 elders asked in a low voice, Is this the person you recommended? Can he really do it? He's only a 2-star king. Don't worry, elders. There will be no problem. Chu Yu stood up with a smile. The 2 elders nodded and did not say anything. However, their eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Xian said coldly when he heard his opponent's clamor from the battle array arena. You'll pay for your cheap mouth. You're courting death. Qing Feng roared in anger. His 5 fingers turned into claws and grabbed at Lin Xian. The horrifying palm extended like a 5-fingered mountain and shrouded Lin Xian with great speed. Lin Xian snorted. His eyes shone with a cold light. He clenched his fist and punched. Boom! The punch was extremely terrifying. It was as bright as the sun, and the entire void was burning. Bang! An earth-shattering sound was heard as the two palms collided. The entire space shattered. Crack! Crack! Ah! A scream was heard, followed by the sound of bones breaking. Then, a figure was sent flying. Humph! The outcome has been decided. I've said that Lin Xian can't do it. A 2-star king. How dare he go up with such strength? He's courting death. The surrounding disciples were discussing. As for the genius martial artists in the top 10, they were all sneering at him. It's over so soon. What a piece of trash. Wu Kun said coldly. It seems that I won't have a chance to fight. On the other side, Yang Fan was also disdainful. The others mocked as well. However, they were all stunned in the next moment. Yang Fan and Wu Kun widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. The surrounding inner disciples also exclaimed, What? This is impossible! It turned out that the light above the array stage had already disappeared, revealing the scene inside. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was calm. Beside him, Qing Feng was holding his arm and half kneeling on the ground. His expression was exceptionally sinister. Blood was still flowing on the ground. Only now did they realize that the one who was screaming was not Lin Xian, but Qing Feng. But how was that possible? Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe it. That was Qing Feng. He was a genius disciple ranked in the top 10 of the inner sanctum, and he had even reached the late stage of 3-star king realm. This strength could be said to be incomparably terrifying. However, Lin Xian was only a 2-star king who had just entered the inner court. How could such a person win? For a moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. On the opposite side, Qing Feng was half kneeling on the ground. He was also panicking. He shook his head frantically. Impossible! Damn it! This is impossible! I don't believe it! How did you injure me? He could not believe it at all. He thought that he had been hit by an illusion. However, the pain that came from his palm made him realize that this was not an illusion, nor was it a dream. It was real. He was injured by a 2-star king. He was injured by a punch. Humph. I've said that you'll pay for your foul mouth. This is just the beginning. Lin Xian snorted coldly, then took a step forward. Suddenly, light shone under his feet, forming a sword ray. In an instant, Lin Xian appeared in front of his opponent. So fast! Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in surprise because that speed shocked them. Even the ordinary inner court disciples couldn't catch Lin Xian's trajectory at all. Even the top 10 sky prides of the inner sect were frowning. On the array stage, Qing Feng's expression changed drastically. He screamed in horror. What are you trying to do? Smack! However, what answered him was a slap. This slap landed on his opponent's face. Immediately, all of his teeth were smashed, and blood splattered in the air. In an instant, Qing Feng's face became swollen. It was like a pig's head. However, Lin Xian did not let him go. He waved his palm continuously. Suddenly, the crisp sound of a slap echoed throughout the entire valley. The 10th slap. Qing Feng was directly sent flying. He crashed to the side, creating a huge crater. His face was unrecognizable. His body kept twitching. He had suffered severe internal injuries. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Shock. Absolute shock. For a moment, the hundreds of thousands of disciples in the White Cloud Square were silent. Everyone was stunned. Lin Xian was weak? Trash? Did he get in through the back door? Everyone's mouth twitched. They felt that their faces were swollen from the slaps. If such a person was trash, then no one in the inner sect could be considered a genius. This was totally beating up the top 10 geniuses in the inner sect. However, they still could not believe it. Lin Xian was only a 2-star king. How could such a battle be possible? Even the 2 elders were astonished. Now they knew why Chuyu had such a confident smile. Lin Xian was definitely not trash. He was a genius. A peerless genius. He had even surpassed most of the disciples in the Danzong and could compete with the geniuses in the sacred ground. Only the geniuses in the sacred ground or the disciples of the clan of the ancients could beat up a 2-star king. However, they did not expect such a person to appear in the Danzong. We must train this person well. The 2 elders made up their minds. Beside them, the other 2 core disciples also looked serious. They wanted to watch a show, but they did not expect to see such a shocking scene. In the next moment, they stared at Lin Xian. Their eyes were shining. The inner sect geniuses were even more shocked. Their mouths were wide open in disbelief. Wu Kun and Yang Fan's faces were terrifyingly gloomy. They did not expect that the ant they looked down on was a giant dragon. He was even more terrifying than them. Damn it! How can he be so powerful? The 2 of them gritted their teeth. After Lin Xian sent Qing Feng flying, he swayed and came back again. However, he stared at Wu Kun and Yang Kun. Don't worry. You 2 can't run away. I'll deal with you personally later, Lin Xian said coldly. You're courting death. How dare you? The 2 of them were furious. Kid, don't be too arrogant. You may be strong, but so what? Qing Feng is only the 10th inner disciple. He's nothing compared to us. That's right. Just you wait. I'll definitely kill you in the battle later. Chapter 1574. The 2 of them swore that they would defeat their opponent in the battle. Moreover, they had to severely injure their opponent, preferably cripple him. Only then would they be able to prevent future troubles. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and ignored the 2 of them. There was no need to say anything now. He would just meet them in the battle arena. He would not stop until he slapped his opponent's face until it was swollen. Next, the competition continued. Another genius went up to fight. Soon, the crowd exclaimed again. This time, it was Qi Yu. Qi Yu, the number 1 inner sect disciple, was recognized as the strongest inner sect disciple. He had a high chance of becoming a core disciple. Now that he went up, he attracted a lot of attention. Even Lin Xian squinted his eyes and looked carefully. A figure appeared in front of him. He was burly, had a cold expression, and had a valiant aura. He was like a god of war as he strode forward. Opposite him was a similarly fierce young man. His eyes were like lightning, and he was also very fierce. He was Guo Xiaotian, ranked 5th. I didn't expect that my opponent would be you. Guo Xiaotian's voice was deep, like a bell, resounding through the void. Qi Yu nodded slightly, then said in a deep voice, Show me your full strength. Let me see your strength. You will see, Guo Xiaotian replied. Then, a shocking light burst out from his eyes. In the next moment, countless purple flames appeared around him, forming a powerful king's domain. With a roar, Guo Xiaotian charged forward with the purple flame domain. Facing Qi Yu, he did not dare to be careless at all. Therefore, he used his most powerful skill right from the start. On the other hand, Qi Yu roared to the sky. Endless light rushed out from his body, and his red hair fluttered like red flames. Behind him, a burning moon quickly appeared, exuding a monstrous aura. Flaming Moon Palm. With a wave of his palm, an endless sea of fire condensed, forming a burning moon that pressed forward. In the next moment, the 2 attacks collided. 2 kinds of terrifying flames burned silently, but the sky kept cracking. The purple flame domain and the burning moon kept colliding, eroding and attacking each other. The overflowing energy turned into waves that swept in all directions, causing the crowd to retreat in shock. Fortunately, there was a formation that formed a strong defense. Otherwise, this attack would have definitely shattered the entire White Cloud Mountain. In the end, the 2 types of flames erupted with unparalleled power, blasting one black hole after another into the void. Guo Xiaotian, on the other hand, vomited blood and was sent flying. He had lost. Even though he had used an extremely powerful domain technique right from the start, he had still lost. In fact, Qi Yu didn't even use his king's domain. He only used a palm technique to achieve victory. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not dare to imagine just how strong Qiyu was. So strong! I'm afraid no one is a match for him. Yeah, the core disciple spot this time is very likely to be his. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even the two elders nodded their heads slightly. Facing Qiyu's strength, those intersect geniuses all felt a sense of powerlessness. Humph! However, there were a few exceptions. Luo Yuan, who was ranked second, coldly snorted, his eyes flashing brilliantly as he stared at Qiyu. Luoshi, who was ranked third, also had a cold expression. Her delicate face was filled with seriousness. On the other side, Lin Xian nodded his head slightly. To be honest, Qiyu's strength was indeed not bad. Although he was only a late-stage 3-star king, he was close to becoming a 4-star king. If he did not participate in the competition, no one among the intersect disciples would be a match for Qiyu. Unfortunately, with him participating in this competition, Qiyu would definitely not win in the end. Then, the competition continued. Lin Xian went on the stage again. To everyone's surprise, Lin Xian's opponent this time was Wu Kun. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed again. Wu Kun was one of the people who had mocked Lin Xian before. The other person, Qing Feng, had already been beaten into a pig's head. Would Wu Kun win? Or would he be beaten into a pig's head? Everyone was looking forward to it. Wu Kun's face was extremely gloomy. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. He did not expect to meet Qiyu again so soon. This made him feel a sense of fear. This was because the strength that Lin Xian had displayed previously had shocked him greatly. But soon, he comforted himself. Careless. It must be Qingfeng's carelessness that allowed Qiyu to win. If he used his full strength this time, he would definitely be able to kill Qiyu. With a cold shout, Wu Kun appeared on the stage in a flash. Then, he said coldly, "Kid, don't be arrogant. I will suppress you later. Is that so? I am looking forward to it." Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, "Do you want me to use only one hand? You are courting death." Wu Kun roared. As an intersect genius, when had he ever been looked down upon like this? With a roar, he rushed over. Lightning Fire Domain. Wu Kun immediately unleashed his King's Domain, intending to kill Lin Xian. He would not give Qiyu any chance. Flames filled the air and lightning intertwined. The entire void was extremely violent. The power of fire and lightning intertwined, creating thousands of rays of light that caused people's hearts to palpitate. In an instant, Wu Kun arrived in front of Lin Xian and attacked with his lightning fire domain. "Ha ha, kid, go to hell!" Wu Kun laughed sinisterly. The intersect disciples around him also exclaimed. They did not expect Wu Kun to use his secret technique right from the start. He did not give Qiyu any chance at all. "It's over. Lin Xian is in danger." Yeah, Wu Kun is ranked 7th. He is definitely not someone Qi Feng can compare to. Everyone was discussing. At that moment, everyone looked forward. However, Lin Xian looked calm. He looked at Wu Kun, who was charging at him crazily, and sneered. Then, he raised his palm and slapped forward. "What? He hasn't used his domain yet?" Seeing this, everyone was shocked and could not believe their eyes. Even the intersect experts frowned. They thought that Lin Xian was too arrogant. Slap! However, in the next moment, a crisp sound was heard. Lin Xian slapped Wu Kun's face and sent him flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect that the slap would hit Wu Kun and that Wu Kun did not dodge at all. Suddenly, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Many people even touched their faces subconsciously. Judging from the power of the slap, half of Wu Kun's face would definitely be smashed. That was indeed the case. Wu Kun was sent flying and half of his face was smashed. He could not believe what he had just seen. He had already used his king's domain and used all his strength. However, he was still sent flying. What kind of technique was that? He was terrified. Chapter 1575. Next, he suffered the same fate as Qing Feng. He was slapped into a pig's head and thrown out of the arena. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. It was simply a one-sided beating. Heavens, just what realm has his strength reached? Why do I feel like he's a bottomless pit? That's right. To be able to send Wu Kuan, who is rank 7th, flying with a single slap, I'm afraid only the top 5 experts can do that. Are you kidding me? He's at least at the level of the top 3. Everyone was shocked, and the inner sect geniuses were frowning. They realized that they had once again underestimated the young man in front of them. Even in Luoxi, Luo Yuan, and the others frowned at the power he had displayed. What an interesting kid! The two elders' eyes lit up as they stared at Lin Xian. Soon, the first round was over. Then came the second round and the third round. Of course, some people were eliminated in the middle. After the fourth round, more people were eliminated. The battle between the crowd became more and more intense. Soon, the crowd in the White Cloud Square exclaimed again as the competition had reached a climax. Luoxi, who was rank 3rd, was fighting against Du Luo Yuan, who was rank 2nd. Luoxi was wearing a blue robe. She looked like a fairy and was extremely beautiful. Beside her, countless blue flames were rolling like an ocean. With a wave of her hand, the blue flames instantly enveloped the entire arena. Then, an ice-blue sword quickly formed in the flames. Thousands of rays of cold light were emitted, and the terrifying aura seemed to tear the sky apart. On the other side, Luo Yuan snorted coldly as a bright light burst out from his eyes. Countless wolf shadows appeared in the air, each of them exuding a terrifying power. A giant blue sword was waved, carrying a bright light as it slashed forward like a meteor. As for the tens of thousands of divine wolf phantoms, they moved rapidly, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, filling the entire space. A fierce collision sound was heard as a huge collision occurred in the entire space. With a loud bang, sparks flew in all directions. Everyone retreated in horror. This kind of attack was too terrifying. Just the aftershock alone was enough to destroy everyone. The two peerless experts continued to exchange blows. Every strike tore apart the heavens and split the earth. The berserk energy was like an ocean, whistling past. After hundreds of blows, the blue sword exploded and turned into countless flames again, spreading in all directions. And Luoxi was defeated. But on the other side, Luo Yuan was also suffering. His face was pale and he didn't have much strength left in his body. It could be said that the victory was very dangerous. Many sighed. Luoxi was the goddess in their hearts, yet she had been defeated. However, it had to be said that this was definitely a shocking battle. Every strike made people's hearts jump. Not long after, Lin Xian went up again. His opponent was Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th. Yang Fan was much stronger than Wu Kuan. However, he was still defeated by Lin Xian. Moreover, his face had been beaten until it looked like a pig's head, and he didn't escape this fate. From then on, everyone was extremely shocked. The strength that Lin Xian had displayed was too strong. Even Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th, was not his match. With such strength, he definitely had the qualifications to enter the top 3. Until now, no one thought that Lin Xian was weak. Even the majority of the inner sect geniuses were ashamed of their inferiority. This was because they were unable to reach such a level of strength. Luoxi, who was ranked 3rd, and Luo Yuan, who was ranked 2nd, looked even more dignified. They didn't expect that at this time, a peerless expert would appear. And it was a newcomer. The 6th match. Luoxi and Qiyu met. Everyone watched nervously. Luoxi also used all her strength in this battle, but she was defeated after 50 moves. And she was defeated wholeheartedly. It couldn't be helped. Qiyu was really too strong. That burning flaming moon was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world. This made everyone feel despair. Next, not long after, Lin Xian finally met Luo Yuan. Suddenly, everyone was excited. because the strength that Lin Xian displayed was definitely at the level of the top 3, and Luo Yuan was even stronger. He was ranked second only to Qiyu. This was undoubtedly going to be a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. In the ring, Luo Yuan's eyes were cold. He stared at Lin Xian like a divine wolf. He said in a deep voice, "I admit that you are very strong, beyond everyone's expectations. But against me, you have no chance of winning. It's useless to say more. Let's fight," Lin Xian said indifferently. Boom! Luo Yuan roared. Suddenly, countless divine wolf phantoms filled his surroundings. Each of them was more than 3 meters long, and had a pair of divine wings on their back. They exuded a terrifying aura. This is Luo Yuan's unique skill, divine wolf howling the sky. I wonder what Lin Xian will use to resist it. I don't think he has a chance. After all, Luo Yuan is second only to Qiyu. He is the only one who can compete with Qiyu. No matter how strong Lin Xian is, he is probably only on par with Luoshi. I'm afraid he will still lose to Luo Yuan. While everyone was discussing, Luo Yuan had already made his move. He brought the divine wolf phantoms with him, and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked calm. He formed a seal with his palms and immediately displayed the 9 heavens transformation. A huge 9-headed snakelet took shape in front of him. Its body was as huge as a mountain, and its 9 heads swayed in the air. Instantly, lightning, flames, frost, cold wind, light blades, and various other attacks flew out of the 9 heads and rushed forward. Boom! The divine wolf phantoms were pierced through and turned into spiritual energy that dissipated in the air. What? He actually pierced through them? Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed in shock. They had never expected that Lin Xian would have such a method capable of instantly defeating a large number of divine wolf phantoms. Even Luo Yuan on the opposite side was moved. The next moment he roared, "Wolf conquers the world!" As his voice rang out, purple radiance erupted from the eyes of the divine wolf phantoms. All the phantoms merged rapidly, forming a huge divine wolf that walked between the heavens and the earth. The divine wolf looked ferocious and terrifying. It walked upright like a giant, black fog rolling around its body and emitting a terrifying energy. Not only that, a huge black saber appeared in its hand. It flickered with an incomparably dark radiance. At this moment, Luo Yuan finally unleashed his strongest technique. With a furious roar, the wolf god phantom brandished its huge black saber and viciously slashed forward. The saber flashed and shattered the void. The saber cleaved the 9-headed snakelet in half. Instantly, the flame, lightning, hailstones, and other energies disappeared. How powerful! Seeing this scene, many inner court disciples exclaimed in surprise. It's out! This is Luo Yuan's strongest technique. That Lin Xian definitely won't be able to block it. Everyone held their breaths and watched carefully. Even Lin Xian was slightly astonished. Luo Yuan was the only person capable of blocking a single attack of his. It was no wonder Luo Yuan was able to become the number 2 genius of that sect. Not bad. Chapter 1576. Lin Xian nodded. Then, he clenched his fist and slammed it forward. Instantly, the great dragon sword soul in his body revolved. Boundless spiritual energy gathered and formed 2 huge steels in the sky. The steels were formed by spiritual energy. They shone brightly and illuminated their surroundings. Although they weren't real, they were like ancient divine steels. They emitted a mysterious energy that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. Suppress! Lin Xian's palm slammed down. Instantly, the ancient steels in the sky pressed down slowly. Shockwaves rolled, and the void shattered. The ancient steels directly suppressed the terrifying wolf god. Roar! The wolf god howled madly. Black energy surged out of his body, forming a hellish scene. The black saber in his hand slashed in all directions, creating a black hole in the void. However, he couldn't escape from the divine steels in the sky. In the end, he was imprisoned in the void and howled in pain. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, they all inhaled a mouthful of cold air. As for Luo Yuan, he was stunned. His mind was blank. He couldn't believe it. His strongest technique had actually been easily suppressed by someone else. Moreover, he realized that his opponent had held back. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured. He might even have been killed. You've won. You're very strong. I've lost. Finally, Luo Yuan sighed and admitted defeat. The moment these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Shocking. This was too shocking. Even the second-ranked genius had admitted defeat. Had Lin Xian become so strong? At this moment, even the first-ranked Qiyu had a solemn expression. The eyes of the core disciples were also shining. The two core elders were also extremely excited. They realized that Lin Xian was truly a peerless genius. He was comparable to those from the sacred land. At this point in the competition, it was already very clear that everyone had a record of defeat. Only Lin Xian and Qiyu had a record of complete victories. Therefore, the core disciple position would be decided between the two of them. The winner would be the next core disciple. At this thought, everyone couldn't help but get excited. This was going to be the strongest battle among the inner disciples. At this moment, Luo Yuan, Enluoshi, Chuyu, and the other core disciples all focused their gazes forward. Qiyu was a tall man with a head full of fiery red hair that fluttered in the wind like a burning flame. He stared at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "You're very strong, and you've exceeded my expectations. I never thought that the final battle would be with you." Lin Xian chuckled. "Life is full of surprises. No one can predict what will happen next. Perhaps you didn't expect to lose in a while." "Humph!" Hearing this, Qiyu snorted coldly. "The one who will lose is you, there is no doubt about that. There's no point in talking. Let's do it." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Seeing Lin Xian's contemptuous look, Qiyu was furious. As the number one disciple of the inner sect, he had always been high and mighty, and no one dared to look down on him. But now, he was being looked down upon. How could he not be angry? Therefore, the moment he made his move, he used a powerful ultimate skill. A burning moon quickly appeared and shrouded Lin Xian. This aura was too terrifying. Even Luo Yuan and Enluoshi trembled. Their expressions changed greatly. They had not expected Qiyu to be so strong. "Damn it, he hid his cultivation!" Luo Yuan trembled, his eyes filled with fear. He had originally thought that he could compete with Qiyu, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Qiyu's aura was very close to that of a 4-star king. Apart from the core disciples, no one could compete with him. Even the two core disciples and the elders nodded slightly, acknowledging Qiyu's strength. Lin Xian was expressionless, his expression calm. The next moment, he gently raised his hand and pointed with his finger. "Void shattering!" A finger beam flew out like a heaven-shaking rainbow, flying in the sky. At this moment, the finger beam seemed to be the only thing in the world. It was so bright that no one could open their eyes. Pung! A deep sound rang out as the finger beam instantly shattered the red moon. This scene stunned everyone. They didn't dare to believe it. The red moon contained spiritual energy that was infinitely close to that of a 4-star king. No one among the inner disciples could compete with it. But now, it had been shattered with a single finger. How terrifying was the energy needed to do that? However, the one who did it was only a 2-star king. Everyone felt like they were dreaming. On the opposite side, Qiyu looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His face turned pale as he kept retreating. A stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It was bright red and dazzling. He was too shocked. This red moon was his ultimate skill. No one in the inner sect could resist it. Only the core disciples could compete with it. But now, the other party had merely pointed out with a finger, and his ultimate skill was broken. He could not accept it at all. At that moment, even the two elders widened their eyes. That was because Lin Xian's battle prowess was truly astonishing. Does this guy have the combat strength of a 4-star king? Thinking of this, everyone sucked in a cold breath. Damn it, I don't believe it! Qiyu roared. He waved his hand, and a huge red moon formed beside him. Moonlight Realm, Qiyu's king's realm. As soon as the Moonlight Realm was formed, it quickly condensed into red moons that pressed forward. Each red moon was like a red mountain, shaking the void and crushing the surroundings. However, Lin Xian only waved his finger and shattered these terrifying red moons. Qiyu roared crazily. He wanted to get closer to Lin Xian with the Moonlight Realm. As long as he could envelop his opponent in his king's realm, he would be able to win. However, that frightening finger light caused him to be alarmed. He could only use his maximum speed to continuously dodge. In the end, after 9 red moons were destroyed, Qiyu finally arrived in front of Lin Xian. Suddenly, Qiyu was ecstatic. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. The Moonlight Realm beside him was even more dazzling. It was like a sea of fire. It's over! The huge Moonlight Realm quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in alarm. Could it be that Lin Xian was really finished? At this moment, everyone was extremely nervous. Lin Xian was still calm. He waved his hand and immediately used the Dragon Sword Realm. Thousands of swords she roared, and killing intent sword. The whole world seemed to have become a world of sword chi. Bang! In the next moment, the two kings' realms collided, and countless cracks appeared in the void. In an instant, the Crimson Moon domain was sent flying by the impact. Puff! Qiyu spat out blood and was sent flying. He hit the ground and could not move at all. Chapter 1577. One hit, just one hit, and he was severely injured. Moreover, it was because his opponent was defending passively. If his opponent had attacked first, he would have been killed. Everyone was stunned. The entire White Cloud Square was silent to the extreme. Defeated, Qiyu was actually defeated. After a long time, the crowd exclaimed. They could not believe that Qiyu, the top inner disciple, was defeated. This was too terrifying. His opponent was only a 2-star king, but the combat power he displayed was even more terrifying than Qiyu's. He had probably reached the 4-star king level. At this moment, all the inner disciples looked at Lin Xian, their bodies trembling. The 2 core disciples in the distance also looked very serious. His combat power was already on par with theirs. As for the 2 elders, they were also extremely excited. A peerless genius, an absolute peerless genius. They, the Danzong, had really picked up a treasure this time. Qiyu was seriously injured and directly fainted. He was carried away for treatment. The entire place was completely silent. After a long time, an elder said in a deep voice, "This competition has ended. The one who became a core disciple is Lin Xian." Everyone was silent. They had never thought that today's result would be like this. Lin Xian revealed a smile. Very good, he had finally become a core disciple. Next, the elder told Lin Xian about the situation of core disciples. After becoming a core disciple, the treatment would be greatly improved. They could have their own mountain to cultivate. Moreover, they could obtain more resources and could even enslave the inner and outer disciples. As Lu Chao went missing, a mountain was empty, so Lin Xian directly took over that mountain. Everything that Lu Chao had before was replaced by Lin Xian. In addition, core disciples had 2 opportunities to listen to the elders' lectures every month. They could read the middle-grade Earth-class martial arts and middle-grade Xian pill recipes. They could cultivate their own spiritual herbs in the mountains, and only needed to give 50% to the sect. Of course, the sect had a rule that core disciples would be given a task every 3 months. If they could not complete it, their treatment would be greatly reduced. Lin Xian nodded to show that he understood. He knew that the sect and its disciples had a coexisting relationship. They needed to cooperate with each other. He didn't need to worry about these things. He planned to wait until things were stable before going to the library to see if there were any clues about the Niwa of Gojoseon. Just like that, Lin Xian became a core disciple. The resources he needed were all sent to the mountain peak. Among them, in addition to the cultivation method, pill Dao, and spiritual medicine, There was also a blue pill. It was said that this was a very good pill. Only core disciples and above could have it. The inner and outer sect disciples did not have the fortune to enjoy it. How could there be such a good thing? Lin Xian was overjoyed. What he lacked the most now was energy. If the great dragon sword's soul wanted to improve, it would require an extremely large amount of energy each time. Moreover, it would increase exponentially. If he couldn't find so much energy, he was afraid that his realm would stagnate. Now, this blue pill seemed to be a very good pill, so he planned to try it. After those people left, Lin Xian set up a defensive array on the mountain peak and named it Star Mountain. Then, he sat down cross-legged, took out the blue pill, and quickly swallowed it. Immediately, the pill dissolved and a torrent of energy rushed into his meridians. So powerful! Lin Xian was overjoyed. He didn't expect that the blue pill would have such a strong energy. It's really good stuff. No wonder only core disciples have it. He used the longevity incantation and quickly absorbed the energy. However, he soon frowned because the longevity incantation seemed to have changed. The longevity incantation was a cultivation method that he had been practicing since he started cultivating. It could be said that it was very powerful. Moreover, there had never been any changes. However, the longevity incantation had changed. The cultivation method had been reversed. Every cultivation method followed a certain path between the meridians and acupoints in the body to provide energy to the body. It could be said that this path was very stable. However, the longevity incantation had been reversed. Lin Xian didn't dare to imagine the consequences. Damn! What's going on? Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. He wanted to stop, but he realized that he couldn't do it. The longevity incantation was like an azure dragon that quickly reversed in Lin Xian's body and expelled all the energy from the blue pill. Pfft! Lin Xian's body trembled and he spat out a blue liquid. It was the blue pill from before. After spitting out the blue liquid, the longevity incantation calmed down and returned to normal. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes widened. He couldn't understand. The longevity incantation had stopped him from absorbing energy. This had never happened before. Therefore, he called the Crimson Dragon and He Tu over. The two of them were experienced and knowledgeable, so they should know what was going on. After He Tu and the Crimson Dragon heard this, they were also puzzled. They also couldn't understand what was going on. Could it be that something went wrong with your cultivation? The Crimson Dragon said. That's impossible. If something went wrong, I should be seriously injured. But I'm safe and sound. Lin Xian shook his head. At this moment, He Tu said, Kid, try taking other pills and see if your cultivation method will reverse. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He took out a pill that he had refined himself and quickly swallowed it. This time, the longevity incantation didn't reverse. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. After a while, Lin Xian said doubtfully, Could it be that there's something wrong with this blue pill? Or could it be that it conflicts with my cultivation method? Other than that, he couldn't think of any other reason. One had to know that he was an alchemist. He had taken countless pills and nothing had ever happened. Only this big brother's blue pill could cause the cultivation technique to reverse. Thus, after thinking about it, there were only these two possibilities. He Tu nodded. Your cultivation method is very magical. It hasn't made any mistakes for so many years. I don't think it's a problem with your cultivation method. So, it's the pill's problem, the Crimson Dragon said from the side. Then, his eyes flickered as he carefully looked at the pool of blue liquid on the ground. What a strong energy! He waved his dragon claw and took out a drop to examine it carefully. After looking at it for a long time, he didn't find any problems. Although we didn't find any problems, it doesn't mean that there's no problem. Maybe we just don't know yet. He Tu said. Kid, don't eat this blue pill. If you want energy, you can find it anywhere. As the new successor of the dragon's sword, Lin Xian couldn't be allowed to have any problems with him. Lin Xian also nodded. Even if he wanted to eat it now, he couldn't. As soon as he took this pill, the longevity incantation reversed and spat out all the energy of the pill. Lin Xian had used the longevity incantation for many years, so he didn't think that longevity would harm him. It must be the pill's problem. At this moment, he suddenly thought of an idea. Do you think that the Niwa of Gojoseon's incident has something to do with this blue pill? Chapter 1578. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly had an idea. Do you think the Niwa of Gojoseon's incident has something to do with this blue pill? Lin Xian asked. Hearing this, He Tu and the Crimson Dragon were deep in thought. Could it be that there's a secret behind this blue pill? I think it's possible, the two whispered. Lin Xian's face lit up. It seemed that he had found a very important clue. In the future, if he searched for this blue pill, he should be able to find some clues. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate. His figure flashed and he left for Chuyu's mountain peak. If he wanted to know about the blue pill, he could only ask the core disciples. However, among the core disciples, he was only familiar with Chuyu. Therefore, he could only ask him. Seeing Lin Xian arrive, Chuyu smiled and said, Why are you here instead of enjoying your cultivation resources? Oh, it's like this. I just received a blue pill from the sect. After consuming it, I felt that the effect was very good. So I want to ask, how can I get more? Oh, you're talking about that pill. Chuyu smiled. There's no other way. There's only one pill per month. Only one pill per month? Is it the same for everyone? Lin Xian asked calmly. Yes, it's the same every month. No matter what method you use, you can't get more. What kind of pill is it? How do you feel after consuming it? Is there anything you're not used to? Lin Xian asked again. Why do you ask? Chuyu was puzzled. The effect of that pill is very good. Every time I consume it, I feel refreshed. I feel that my energy and body have reached the peak. This is definitely a rare pill. Only core disciples can consume it. However, I don't know what this pill is called. Everyone calls it blue wave pill. Blue wave pill. Lin Xian muttered, then frowned. From what Chuyu said, it seemed that no one felt uncomfortable after consuming it. Moreover, the effect was surprisingly good. But why couldn't he take it? Of course, he didn't dare to tell Chuyu about this matter. Otherwise, it would alarm the sect and he would be used for experiments or something. That would be terrible. It looked like he couldn't ask any more questions. Chuyu seemed to have begun to suspect something. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't ask any more questions. After chatting about some matters related to alchemy and cultivation, he left. Kid, don't worry, take your time. Otherwise, it will attract the attention of others. He Tu also reminded him. Yes, I know. Lin Xian nodded and put the matter aside for the time being. A few days later, he went to the sect's library to read some books. He specifically selected some historical records. However, there was no record of the Niwa of Gojoseon. According to the 10,000 B sting, the Niwa of Gojoseon used to be an elder, and his status and strength were even higher than the core disciples. Logically speaking, there should be records of it. However, after rummaging through the entire library, he didn't find any records of the Niwa of Gojoseon. It looked like the Danzong had erased it. What did the Niwa of Gojoseon do? Why was he pursued by the Danzong like this, and all his deeds were erased? Could it be related to the blue pill? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he couldn't be sure. It looked like he couldn't rush this matter. He could only wait. With a sigh, he returned to the Star Peak. There was no progress on the Niwa of Gojoseon's matter. Lin Xian could only cultivate and increase his strength to deal with the unknown danger. After cultivating for a period of time, he felt that his progress was too slow. After all, he had the great dragon sword soul. The energy he needed was several times more than an ordinary king, or even more than 10 times. Therefore, ordinary energy wasn't enough for him to absorb. It looked like he could only go out and search for opportunities. Lin Xian sighed. As expected, one had to pay a higher price than others in order to be powerful. Fortunately, the matter at Fengshan wasn't over yet. Perhaps he should go and explore it again. The Crimson Dragon agreed with this suggestion. The benefits he received last time had allowed him to advance by one level. Therefore, he couldn't forget about it. The two didn't hesitate. They left the Danzong again and set off for Fengshan. The demonic aura at Fengshan was even thicker now. It was overflowing and looked like hell. However, there were more martial artists in the surroundings. Moreover, it wasn't just the sects and countries nearby. Even the sects and sects far away had come. It could be said that there were countless experts now. Damn, what did they find? How did they attract so many people? The Crimson Dragon exclaimed as he looked at the figures flying in the sky. Kid, be careful. Although there aren't any people from the sacred grounds or the clan of the ancients, those from the great sects are also very strong. I'm afraid they're much stronger than the Danzong. Great sects? So strong? Lin Xian was also surprised. He thought that above the Danzong were the clan of the ancients and the sacred grounds. He didn't expect there to be so many great sects in between. He too reminded. Kid, don't underestimate these great sections. Some of the more powerful great sects have been passed down for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Among them, the terrifying great sects are not inferior to the sacred grounds or the clan of the ancients. So strong! Lin Xian was shocked. Indeed, there were countless experts in the true spirit world and many sects. It seemed that among these powers, the Danzong wasn't ranked. The great sects had limitless and terrifying foundations. Even He Tu's words carried a trace of seriousness. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. He believed that with his talent and hard work, he would be able to rule the world one day. While they were talking, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's figures were like lightning as they quickly approached Feng Mountain. Compared to a few days ago, this place was even more terrifying. The overflowing aura made people tremble with a single glance. The two carefully advanced. Soon, they passed through the cave they had entered last time. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the aura became. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon weren't ordinary people, so they were able to resist this terrifying aura. If it were other kings, they wouldn't even dare to enter. However, as soon as they entered Feng Mountain, they were attacked. It was a group of ghosts, emitting a cold aura that wrapped around Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. But this time, Lin Xian's strength had greatly increased, so he easily dealt with them. As they continued forward, he finally frowned. Because there were fighting sounds coming from ahead. Obviously, the various powers had already started fighting. Relying on his outstanding soul power, Lin Xian sensed danger and quickly avoided those warriors. He didn't want to fight with these people right now and waste his energy. But in the end, he still encountered a group of people. Chapter 1579. There were about a dozen people in this group, and the leader was an old man. However, what made Lin Xian feel at ease was that this old man was only a 4-star king. The young people behind him were at most 3-star kings. The old man stared at Lin Xian, his eyes flickering, but he did not say anything. However, the young disciples beside him sneered and said, Kid, who are you? How dare you wander around here? Aren't you afraid of death? A 2-star king dares to come in alone? You're really courting death. A few young disciples stepped forward and looked down at Lin Xian with arrogant expressions. The old man frowned, but he did not say anything. This was because he had already checked Lin Xian's cultivation before, and he was only a 2-star king. Such a person was not a threat at all. Moreover, he was also very curious. Where did the other party get the courage to appear here? Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He did not pay attention to these people. His figure flashed, and he prepared to leave from another place. There was danger everywhere now, and he did not want to fight too much. He wanted to preserve his strength. However, those young people did not intend to let him go. A hint of anger even appeared in their eyes. You're courting death. I asked you a question, and you dare not answer? You're too arrogant. No one dares to ignore us. A mere 2-star king dares to be so arrogant. Looks like we really need to teach you a lesson. They sneered and were about to attack. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. If you don't want to die, scram! You're courting death. Hearing Lin Xian's warning, the young people were furious. In their opinion, the other party dared to scold them. He was simply courting death. Therefore, these people shouted coldly and erupted with powerful strength, quickly attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face darkened, and a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He did not want to fight too much and preserve his strength. However, these people in front of him provoked him again and again. It seemed that he had no choice but to attack. He snorted coldly and raised his arm. Suddenly, a dazzling sword light flew out from between his fingers. It was like a long river, fiercely slashing forward. A beam of sword light turned into 3 beams of sword chi and slashed towards the 3 young men in front of him. Puff! Puff! 3 low voices rang out as the 3 arrogant youths were sliced in half. What? He was killed! Seeing this scene, the surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. Even that old man had a shocked expression on his face. To be honest, the other party was only a 2-star king tier, and he didn't attract his attention at all. Among his disciples, any one of them could easily kill the other party. However, he did not expect that the other party had actually concealed his strength and displayed such powerful strength, killing 3 of his disciples with a raise of his hand. Brat, you're courting death! At this moment, the old man finally could not hold it in any longer. An extremely powerful force surged out from his body, and together with his huge palm, he slapped towards Lin Xian. Instantly, the palm of light covered the sky and the sun, and the immense pressure caused the void to tremble. 4-star king tier? Is this what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. Then, a dragon's roar rang out from his body. A shocking beam of sword light shot up into the sky. He clenched his fist, and a black demonic sword appeared in his hand. Then, he slashed it forward. A sword that split the sky. The huge sword she was like a black mountain, and it was extremely terrifying. It directly blasted away the huge palm that covered the sky and enveloped the old man. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the wind and clouds between heaven and earth moved violently. A huge crack appeared in the sky. The old man's expression changed drastically. He felt an extremely sharp radiance slashing his body, and he was instantly sent flying. At this critical moment, he activated 7 layers of defense. Among them, 3 layers of spiritual power defense, 3 layers of shields, and a piece of armor on his body blocked in front of him. He was truly too terrified because this sword chi made him shudder with fear and trepidation. However, even if he activated 7 layers of defense, it was of no use. The black sword chi cut through all of his defenses, and then slashed his body. Boom! The old man was sent flying. More than half of the bones in his body were broken, and there was a terrifying sword wound on his body. Blood splattered in the sky, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Damn it, how is this possible? The old man was sent flying for dozens of miles, crashing into countless mountains, before he finally stopped. His eyes were filled with horror. He was a 4-star king! He was extremely powerful, and his opponent was only a 2-star king. However, he was able to seriously injure him with a single sword strike. This was simply too sensational. Damn it, could this kid be from a sacred ground or a clan of the ancients? Or a disciple of one of those great sects? The old man's scalp went numb. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Only a disciple of such a force could fight someone of such a high level. Thinking of this, his expression became extremely ugly. In the next moment, he burned the spiritual power in his body, and his entire body turned into a dazzling light as he fled into the distance. Humph, black dragon break! Lin Xian snorted coldly. The black sword chi turned into a black dragon and roared forward. In an instant, the huge black dragon's body swallowed the old man. The sword light exploded, and the sword she soared into the sky and tore through the sky. The old man was blasted into powder, leaving nothing behind. The disciples that he brought with him were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They did not expect that their master would be killed. And this person was the ant that they had mocked before. "Who are you? You're not human! You're a demon! Everyone, run!" The disciples were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they fled in all directions. However, at this moment, the Crimson Dragon sneered. He waved his dragon claws and shouted, "Dragon roars in all directions!" In an instant, countless dragon claws lashed out in all directions, filling up the entire space. Bang! Bang! Soon, the dozen or so disciples were all smashed into a bloody mist by the dragon claws. The Crimson Dragon chuckled, while Lin Xian was expressionless. To be honest, he did not have any pity in his heart because the world was cruel. If he did not kill these people, they would kill him. If he and the Crimson Dragon were weak, they would have been killed by the other party long ago. After dealing with these troubles, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon continued on their journey. In front of them, black chi filled the air, and the aura of death soared into the sky. It was extremely cold. Some of the weaker warriors had no choice but to retreat. However, some of the bolder ones directly activated their king's domains or used their armor to force their way in. As for the powerful kings, their chi and blood surged into the sky, and they were as vigorous as furnaces. From afar, one could see patches of red light that connected the heavens and the earth. Those were the scenes emitted by the chi and blood of the strong. They were so powerful that ghosts and evil beings did not dare to approach. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's chi and blood rumbled in their bodies, emitting powerful auras. However, the two of them controlled themselves well and did not appear too shocking. They did not want to attract too much attention. Chapter 1580. However, along the way, he had also found many spiritual herbs. There were countless spiritual herbs in the world, and they all had different habits. Some liked sunlight, some liked water, some liked darkness, and some even grew in the wilderness of mountains of corpses. Therefore, there were countless precious spiritual herbs in the Feng Mountain range. Moreover, they were all very old, thousands of years old. These were all 1,000-year-old herbs, and they were very precious. Lin Xian took some, then sat down cross-legged and quickly refined pills. Now that he was able to refine middle-grade Xian pills, he would not let go of any opportunity. In the end, he was only in charge of refining pills, while the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey were in charge of collecting. The two of them were very fast, and it did not take long for them to collect more than 10,000-year-old herbs. Soon, a furnace of pills was made. There were a total of 12 pills. Each of them was the size of a longan, and they emitted a strange fragrance. Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and the Snow-White Monkey shared the pills equally, and they quickly consumed them to increase their strength. However, every time Lin Xian raised his cultivation, the amount of energy he needed was too great. Therefore, this small amount of elixir could not provide any significant improvement. However, his strength increased little by little. When night fell, the entire Feng Mountain was shrouded in a layer of ghostly aura. It was so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Under such circumstances, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and the rest did not leave, but sat cross-legged where they were. They started a bonfire, but the dim light could only illuminate the surrounding area for a meter. However, this was enough. The Crimson Dragon set up a defensive array around them. Lin Xian was preparing to cultivate. Bang! However, at this moment, a low sound was heard, as if something was hitting the array. "Who is it?" Lin Xian shouted coldly, and his voice turned into a murderous aura, penetrating all directions. The Crimson Dragon also set up an array, and suddenly, a bright light shone, illuminating the surroundings. Then, their eyes widened, and they felt their scalps go numb. 2 meters in front of them, there was a corpse lying on the ground. It was a shriveled corpse, with only skin and bones left. At this moment, it was lying on the ground, emitting a gloomy and cold aura. F***ck, what is this thing? When did he appear? The Crimson Dragon was startled. Lin Xian was also shocked. There was nothing they could do about it. This mummy was too strange. Previously, they had scouted all directions, but there was nothing within a radius of 1 mile. But now, 2 meters in front of them, there was a dried corpse. How did it appear? Did the other party run over on his own? Or was it put here by someone? No matter which one it was, it made their scalps go numb. Kid, why don't we go back? This place is too creepy. The Crimson Dragon hesitated. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. Even the Crimson Dragon said so. Was this place really that dangerous? However, before he could say anything, the sound of fighting suddenly came from the front. There were also angry roars. Someone's fighting! Lin Xian frowned and spread out his soul power. He found that the place where the sound came from was not far away. It was only a few dozen miles away from them. This distance was nothing to them. Let's go and have a look, Lin Xian said. Then, he turned into a sword light and flew forward. The Crimson Dragon did not dare to stay here alone, so he followed closely. At this distance, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon soon arrived. Then, they found that there was indeed a battle. On one side, there was a man in black. His wide black robe wrapped around his body. His eyes were unusually cold, with an unfathomable evil aura. On the other side, although Lin Xian did not know who it was, his clothes were very familiar. He was a disciple of the Danzong. And judging by his cultivation, he should be a core disciple of the Danzong. At this moment, they were fighting with the black-robed man. However, they were not fighting with the black-robed man himself, but with a few dried corpses. That's right. There were a few dried corpses around the black-robed man, and they were walking strangely. As they moved, there was a strange and evil power. Damn, what a strong death aura! The Crimson Dragon looked forward and was shocked. Death aura? This uncomfortable feeling is the death aura? Lin Xian asked. At the same time, he found that the dried corpses around the black-robed man were very similar to the one beside the bonfire. Come to think of it, they should be together. One of the dried corpses was very scary. It was tall, purple, and seemed to be wearing armor. There was a gray light in its eyes. Its body was as fast as lightning, and its strength was enormous. With a palm strike, it sent a core disciple of the Danzong flying. It seemed that the purple zombie was at least a 4-star king. And the dried corpses around it were not weak either. Although they were not as strong as the purple zombie, they had strong bodies. The attacks of the core disciples did not cause much damage to them. Damn it, who are you? The core disciples of the Danzong roared. There were 3 of them in total. Now that one of them was sent flying, there were only 2 left. It was a man and a woman. The 2 of them were fighting 6 dried corpses, and the situation was very dangerous. After the black-robed man heard this, he sneered. Dead people don't need to know so much. Don't worry. After you die, I'll turn you into dried corpses and make you my slaves forever. As he spoke, he suddenly stretched out his hands and clapped lightly. Suddenly, a very low voice was heard. The dried corpses and the purple zombie seemed to have received some kind of order, and they attacked even more crazily. The purple zombie was especially fierce. The 2 Danzong disciples' palms and long swords slashed at it, creating a series of sparks. However, they could not hurt the zombie at all. The purple zombie waved its palms, carrying a terrifying death aura. It instantly blasted the 2 of them and forced them back. Pfft! The 2 core disciples spat out blood. Their faces were pale. At the same time, a gust of death aura flowed into their bodies, destroying their spiritual energy and bodies. Because of that, their situation became even worse. Hee, the disciples of the Danzong. You're good at alchemy, but you're trash when it comes to fighting. Why didn't you stay in the mountains? Why did you have to get involved in this mess? Since that's the case, you can go to hell. The black-robed man sneered. His palms clapped in a strange rhythm. Then, the purple zombie charged forward again like lightning. Its withered palms were like the claws of death. They struck forward quickly. Even the void could not withstand it. The two core disciples were about to be killed. However, at this moment, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his hand, and a ball of black flames flew out. It was like a black sun, covering the sky and covering the earth. It quickly blasted onto the purple zombie. Bang! Pft! Pft! The purple zombie was pushed back. Not only that, but its body was also burning rapidly. It was only a dried corpse, so it would not feel any pain. However, the black-robed man was shocked when he saw this. "Who's there? How dare you hurt my zombie? Come out!" Chapter 1581. Who's there? How dare you hurt my zombie? Show yourself! As he roared, he quickly formed a seal with his palms. Immediately, an endless amount of death aura surrounded the purple zombie and extinguished the black flames. Then, he looked to the side with a gloomy gaze. There, he found a young man standing with a red four-horned snake. "Who are you? How dare you interfere with my business? Do you want to die?" The black-robed man's voice was gloomy. At the same time, he was shocked that the young man could hurt his purple zombie. One had to know that his purple zombie was extremely terrifying. Those core disciples of the alchemy sect from before were unable to harm it at all. Now, the young man who appeared out of nowhere could hurt his zombie. It was indeed shocking. The one who attacked was naturally Lin Xian. When he heard the man's roar, he did not answer. Instead, he asked, "Who are you?" "Humph, you don't have the right to know who I am. How dare you interfere with my business? You'll end up in a miserable state." The black-robed man snorted. His body was filled with murderous intent. "Then you don't have the right to know who I am either. However, since you dared to provoke a Danzong disciple, I can guarantee that you'll end up in a miserable state too," Lin Xian said slowly. He returned the man's words. "You're courting death." The black-robed man was furious. On the other hand, the three injured Danzong disciples were overjoyed. The young man turned out to be a Danzong disciple. That was good news. However, what puzzled them was that they did not recognize the young man in front of them. Could he be an inner disciple? As soon as they thought of that, they quickly rejected the idea. How could an inner disciple defeat this black-robed young man? He must be a core disciple. They heard that there was a new core disciple recently. It should be him. They discussed and finally confirmed it. On the other side, the black-robed man wanted to attack, but suddenly, a strange voice came from afar. Suddenly, the black-robed man's expression changed. "Kid, you're lucky this time. The next time we meet, I'll kill all of you and turn you all into mummies." With that, he let out a cold snort. Boundless death chi spread out from his body, enveloping all the mummies. Then, with a flash of his body, he turned into a black light and left the place. Seeing that the man had left, the three core disciples heaved a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. One by one, they began to consume pills to heal their injuries. At the same time, they looked at Lin Xian gratefully. "Thank you for your help, brother." "It's fine." Lin Xian smiled. "You said you're a Danzong disciple? Could it be that you're that new core disciple, Lin Xian?" asked a woman wearing a red skirt. "That's me." Lin Xian nodded. As expected, the three of them looked at each other and confirmed their thoughts. "Brother Lin's strength is really strong. He actually injured that purple zombie with one move." "We were just lucky," Lin Xian said. "How did you meet that guy?" After that, the few of them chatted and quickly exchanged information. It turned out that these people had only met by chance. They did not know the background of the black-robed young man at all. Lin Xian nodded and prepared to leave. However, at that moment, a disciple wearing a green shirt suddenly trembled. "What's going on?" Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. The other two disciples were also anxious. Could it be because of the death chi just now? Lin Xian frowned. However, the green-robed disciple was already unconscious. He kept rolling on the ground and spasming. With great difficulty he shouted, Pills, give me pills. Hearing that, the woman in red and the other disciples' expressions changed. As for Lin Xian, he quickly took out a few healing elixirs and handed them over. However, the green-robed disciple on the ground was quickly thrown away. His eyes were red and his expression was ferocious as he shouted, "Give me pills!" Looking at this scene, Lin Xian frowned. This situation was way too strange. What does the other party want? He turned to look at the woman in red. He's talking about the blue wave pill. The woman in red sighed. Brother Lin, I think you should have gotten a blue wave pill. I don't know if you've taken it. If you haven't, you can lend it to him first. What blue wave pill? Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. How did this strange situation have anything to do with the blue wave pill? What's going on? What does this have to do with the blue wave pill? Lin Xian asked quickly. I've already swallowed the pill. I don't have it now. The woman in red sighed. Senior brother was going to take the blue wave pill, but it was destroyed by the zombies. Without the blue wave pill, I'm afraid the coming days will be very difficult. You know, that's Junior sister. The woman in red wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by the disciple beside her. Then, the young man gave her a look. Suddenly, the woman in red was shocked. She realized that she had said too much. Then, she shook her head slightly. It's nothing. Brother Lin, you'll understand these things for yourself in the future. Another disciple walked up and looked at the green-robed disciple who was screaming and convulsing on the ground. Then, he struck him with his palm and knocked him unconscious. Brother Lin, we can't go together. I have to bring him back to the sect. That disciple cupped his fist and said. Then, he left with the unconscious green-robed disciple and the woman in red. As for Lin Xian, his frown deepened. What do they mean? The three people in front of him obviously know something, but they don't want to tell him. Could it be that they're afraid of something? And what was the relationship between the convulsing disciple and the blue wave pill? What they meant was that the green-robed disciple had the blue wave pill, but it was destroyed by the zombies. That was why he didn't take it. But why would this happen if he didn't take it? Lin Xian's face turned ugly. Could it be that after taking it once, he would go crazy if he didn't take it again? When he thought of this, his scalp went numb. He seemed to have discovered something extremely terrifying. If this was true, then it would be an earth-shattering matter. One had to know that all the core disciples in Danzong had taken the blue wave pill. Even the elders had taken it. If the supply of the blue wave pill was stopped one day, wouldn't that mean that the entire upper echelon of Danzong, including the elite disciples, would go crazy? When he thought of this, Lin Xian broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, his art of longevity was extremely mysterious. It directly rejected the blue wave pill. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in a good state right now. Damn it, what's going on? How could something like this happen in Danzong? Lin Xian's face was unusually gloomy. He realized that he seemed to be involved in a huge conspiracy. Could it be that the Niwa of Gojoseon discovered this back then, and that's why he was hunted down? Chapter 1582. Lin Xian's face was unusually gloomy. He realized that he had been dragged into a huge conspiracy. Could it be that the Niwa of Gojoseon discovered this back then, and that's why he was hunted down? Maybe that's true. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also said in a low voice. To be honest, he has never seen such a strange thing. Kid, you have to be careful. This blue wave pill seems to be addictive. The Crimson Dragon's expression was serious. Even a 4-star king couldn't avoid it. Who could have made it? Damn, I didn't expect the Niwa of Gojoseon to be hiding such a huge conspiracy. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Kid, it's not too late for us to escape now. The Crimson Dragon reminded him. After all, you didn't take the blue wave pill, and the sect didn't find out either. If we leave now, they won't find out either. But if we stay for too long, I'm afraid something will happen. Yeah, kid, this situation is too strange. Hei-Tu also tried to persuade him. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It's okay. There's no danger now. I want to see what this Danzone wants to do. He realized that there was a huge conspiracy right in front of him. To be honest, he really wanted to uncover it. But before that, he needed to be powerful. Let's go and explore the ancient tomb first. We'll talk about the Danzone after we return. After that, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon moved again and flew forward. Whoosh! Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon landed on a mountain peak and looked forward. They were already very close to the center of Feng Mountain. At this moment, black smoke filled the sky, and the air was filled with a dense ghostly aura. It was eerie and very oppressive. Countless martial artists around them turned into rays of light and rushed forward. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon didn't hesitate and also flew forward. When Lin Xian approached, he could feel the surrounding ghostly aura surging towards him, as though it wanted to devour him. With a cold snort, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and a sharp sword light surged out, cutting all the death chi in the surroundings. However, at this time, many martial artists flew past Lin Xian. When they sensed his cultivation, they immediately sneered. Humph, a mere two-star king dares to come here. You're courting death. Don't worry about him. Soon, he will be swallowed by the ghost chi and become a zombie. The few of them sneered and left while laughing. Lin Xian did not pay attention to those people. His figure flickered as he directly entered the center of Feng Mountain. The black mountain peaks were thousands of feet tall. They were like demonic swords that stood on the ground, emitting a torrential aura. That aura was extremely terrifying. Ordinary kings didn't even dare to approach it. Not far ahead, a group of people stood. They were the ones who had mocked him earlier. At this moment, those people were also looking around. When they turned around and saw Lin Xian, they sneered again. You actually managed to come in? What a surprise! Humph! So what? A two-star king coming here is courting death. It was a group of 9 young men. Each of them was outstanding and had a powerful aura. Moreover, there was a moon embroidered on their sleeves. Obviously, they were from the same sect. Kid, I didn't expect you to be so lucky to be able to come here. However, if you continue, you'll also be courting death. Why don't you join us and become our slave? That way, you can keep your life. If you serve us well, we might even give you 1 or 2 treasures. Who knows? At this time, a young man in front said coldly. Lin Xian said coldly. Join you? Become a slave? You're really shameless. I'll give you 3 seconds to disappear from my sight. I don't want to kill anyone now. However, if you continue to be so presumptuous, don't blame me for being rude. Oh, you dare to threaten me? The young man sneered. The others also sneered disdainfully. Kid, do you know the situation in front of you? Do you know who we are? What's your cultivation base? How dare you threaten us? You really don't know how to spell the word death. Kid, I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and apologize. Break one of your arms, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, the young man was very arrogant as he looked down at Lin Xian. However, before he could finish speaking, he was sent flying by a slap. Half of his face was smashed, and he fainted. That was naturally Lin Xian's doing. He slapped the other party unconscious, and then his gaze swept across the surroundings like lightning. He said coldly, I don't want to do anything, but you've gone too far. Since that's the case, I can't let you live. As he spoke, his body moved like lightning and quickly rushed forward. You're courting death. Those people were furious. They did not expect that the other party would dare to attack and even succeed. Catch that kid and kill him! They counterattacked. However, in the next moment, everyone regretted it. Because Lin Xian was too powerful. He subdued all of them with a raise of his hand. All of them covered their faces and wailed on the ground. Lin Xian did not kill them, but he did not show mercy either. These people were all seriously injured. Impossible! Damn it! This is impossible! You're just a 2-star king. How can you be so powerful? Who exactly are you? These people screamed in horror. They could not believe that a 2-star king could be so powerful. You talk too much nonsense. Lin Xian lifted his leg and sent them flying with a kick. However, their storage rings were left behind. Lin Xian used his soul power to search quickly and took out all the useful things. As for the storage rings, they were thrown away by Lin Xian. Firstly, he had a king's domain that could store things. Secondly, the storage rings might have been sealed by the elders of the sect. He did not want to take them. From these people's storage rings, he found 50 substandard divine crystals that were not of good quality. F***ck, that's all? You're really poor. The Crimson Dragon curled his lips and looked at them with disdain. Puff. Hearing this, the seriously injured young people vomited blood and fainted. As for Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon, they took the items with them and left the place in a flash. Then, he and the Crimson Dragon set off for the depths of Feng Mountain. During this time, they were mocked by many people, but they were all chased away by Lin Xian. Of course, everyone who mocked him left behind a painful price. There were storage rings all over the ground. Lin Xian also obtained hundreds of high-quality subdivine crystals, which were absorbed by him one by one. His strength and cultivation were also gradually increasing. Right now, his realm was very stable, and his strength had also increased to a certain extent compared to before. However, at this moment, Lin Xian heard the sound of fighting coming from the mountain in front of him. He and the Crimson Dragon flew over and found that many people were fighting over the subdivine crystals. After searching carefully, they found out that those people were fighting over the subdivine crystals. This time, there were many subdivine crystals. There were 3 of them. Chapter 1583. Even though Lin Xian had obtained hundreds of good quality substandard god crystals, they couldn't compare to a single supreme grade substandard god crystal. Kid, good stuff. The Crimson Dragon was drooling. Lin Xian's eyes were also burning with desire. Since they had encountered it, they would not miss it. Get out of here! It belongs to the Golden Light sect! A furious roar was heard. Then, several young men in golden robes appeared. Their bodies shone like the sun, illuminating the surroundings. Their aura was extremely powerful when they joined forces. What? The Golden Light sect! Seeing that, many people were horrified and quickly retreated. Humph! So what if you have the Golden Light sect? Our moon-worshipping cult wants it. Get out of here if you don't want to die! On the other side, an arrogant voice was heard. Then, several powerful martial artists appeared. Their powerful aura collapsed the void. Suddenly, more people retreated. Both the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult were major sections. They were extremely terrifying. The surrounding local sects were no match for them. Therefore, they could only retreat temporarily. However, the power of the subdivine crystal was too tempting. After some discussion, they decided to form an alliance to fight against the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult. Alliance? You're courting death! Kill! In an instant, the 3 forces fought fiercely. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions like a raging tide. Blood spurted out and dyed the sky red. Screams were heard. Not long after, many martial artists collapsed. At that moment, the greed of human nature was on full display. Everyone seemed to be in a killing frenzy as they fought desperately for the crystals. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon hid in the dark and were ready to attack. However, at that moment, another terrifying voice was heard. It sounded like the roar of a ferocious ghost. It made one's scalp tingle. Ha ha! 3 subdivine crystals. I didn't expect my luck to be so good. The voice was extremely ferocious. Then black gas appeared in the void and formed a large hand that grabbed downward. You're courting death! Put it down! Get out of here! The martial artists of the Golden Light sect, the moon-worshipping cult, and the allied forces roared. They had fought so hard and had not obtained the crystals. How could they allow others to interfere? In the next moment, these martial artists made their moves one after another, unleashing powerful attacks that bombarded the sky. Bang bang. A terrifying explosion rang out. High up in the sky, a violent wind blew, thunder rumbled, and energy exploded. However, the berserk energy was unable to stop that figure. That mysterious person was like a ghost. Carrying a shocking amount of energy, he quickly arrived in the sky. What? He was actually fine. How is this possible? The surrounding martial artists were astonished. Even if they were 4-star King Realm martial artists, they would still suffer if they were hit by these attacks. However, nothing happened to the other party. This was simply too inconceivable. At this moment, everyone looked up at the sky. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, who were hiding in the dark, looked up. In the sky, there was a strange figure. It was a young man wearing a black robe. His eyes were cold and evil. He wasn't floating. Instead, he was sitting cross-legged on a purple zombie. The purple zombie was extremely tall. Its entire body was purple, and it flickered with a cold metallic luster. At the same time, it also had an extremely cold aura. Who are you? Seeing this strange scene, the crowd felt their scalps go numb. The disciple of the School of Golden Light roared furiously. You don't need to know who I am. You just need to get lost and leave the 3 supreme grade subdivine crystals behind. How dare you? You're courting death. Kid, you're too arrogant. Angry roars could be heard. At this moment, the disciple of the moon-worshipping cult said, You're also sneering. Although you're strong, you can't withstand our attacks. If you don't want to die, get lost now. Humph, you're alone and you want to get the 3 supreme grade subdivine crystals? You really don't know how to spell the word death. What a bunch of idiots. Who said I'm alone? In the sky, the black-robed man sneered. Then, he waved his hand. Suddenly, a black scroll fluttered in the wind. In the next moment, a black light shone. 6 mummies flew out from the scroll. Each of them looked ferocious and evil. This is... The martial artists below were shocked. The disciple of the School of Golden Light exclaimed. The Path of Corpse Ghost. You're from the South Ridge! They were indeed shocked. In the Eastern Wilderness, it was rare to hear of any sect that practiced the Path of Corpse Ghost. However, the South Ridge was different. There were many such sections. Therefore, the disciples of the School of Golden Light exclaimed. Humph, it's just a ghost. You want to use it to defeat us? What a joke! The disciple of the moon-worshipping cult snorted. Watch me destroy your zombies! Suddenly, 3 disciples of the moon-worshipping cult stepped forward. With a wave of their hands, a fire appeared in the sky and swept toward the sky. Humph, zombies are afraid of fire and lightning. We'll use fire to burn your mummies. The others heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, these mummies were afraid of the power of Yang. At this moment, the fire in the sky would definitely burn those mummies to ashes. However, the black-robed young man in the sky sneered. A disdainful smile appeared on his face. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his hands. Suddenly, the 6 mummies in the sky raised their hands. Balls of black light burst out from their palms. These balls of light grew bigger and bigger. They connected and surrounded the 6 mummies completely. Then, they spread out in all directions. In the next moment, a black defense was formed. Suddenly, the fire in the sky blasted on the black defense and set off huge waves. However, it did not break. It was blocked outside. What? He blocked it? How is that possible? Everyone was shocked. However, in the next moment, they screamed. This was because the black-robed young man had commanded the 6 zombies to dive down quickly and penetrate the bodies of 2 disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw this. What kind of technique was this? How could the zombies not be afraid of fire? This was beyond common sense. In the sky, the black-robed young man did not stop. His palms moved again. The 6 zombies immediately rushed toward the disciples of the Golden Light sect. The disciples of the Golden Light sect narrowed their eyes and quickly dodged. At the same time, they roared and performed their strongest techniques to resist. However, this time, The 6 mummies did not rush over directly. Instead, they stretched out their 10 fingers. Suddenly, the 10 fingers shone brightly and left their bodies. Like 10 hidden weapons, they penetrated the heads of the 3 disciples of the Golden Light sect. Bang! 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 The 3 disciples of the Golden Light sect fell to the ground and blood flowed out. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw this. They kept retreating. In just a moment, 5 disciples of the major sects were killed. This technique was too terrifying. Seeing the horrified expressions of the people below, the black-robed young man laughed out loud. How is it? Now you know how powerful I am. If I don't show you some tricks, I'm afraid you won't believe me. Now all of you can get out of my sight. Those 3 supreme-grade subdivine crystals are mine. I'll kill whoever dares to snatch them. Chapter 1584. Now all of you can get lost. Those 3 supreme divine crystals are mine. I will kill anyone who dares to snatch them from me. The black-robed youth sneered. Damn it! Damn it! I can't accept this. Countless warriors roared crazily. Those were 3 pieces of substandard divine crystals, each of which was extremely precious. Now they were asked to leave and they could not accept it. However, the black-robed youth in the sky was too powerful. Moreover, his methods were vicious. He had killed 5 disciples of the large sects in an instant. If they continued to stay, their lives would be in danger. All of a sudden, everyone was in a dilemma and their faces turned pale. Humph, don't even think about it. How dare you kill the disciples of the Golden Light sect? Today, you will never leave. The moon-worshipping sect will not let you off. At that moment, the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping sect gave up on fighting and joined forces to kill the black-robed youth in the sky. Humph, you are really stubborn. Let's play with you. How dare you? I am Wandong from the Golden Light sect. I am here to kill you. A handsome young man walked out from the Golden Light sect. He was in a golden robe and held a golden sword in his hand. He exuded a powerful aura. He was as dazzling as the sun. Humph, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. The black-robed youth sneered. Then, he controlled the purple zombie and swooped down. The purple zombie emitted a dazzling radiance. Like a bolt of purple lightning, it dashed down quickly. Along with it, there was a thick fog and an eerie ghostly aura. When the surrounding martial artists saw the black-robed youth, they retreated nervously. They had no choice. The black-robed youth was too terrifying. His aura alone made them feel uneasy, and their bodies trembled. What a fast speed! Lin Xian frowned as he observed the black-robed youth carefully. At the same time, he summoned Little White Monkey and prepared to snatch the 3 supreme divine crystals. On the other side, Wandong, the disciple of the Golden Light sect, roared and slashed with the golden holy sword. The sword radiance shone and turned into 5 dazzling sword chi that slashed forward. Each and every one of them was like a golden river, and the surging energy caused the void to tremble. As for the black-robed young man, he controlled the purple zombie to quickly dodge, and in an instant 3 more sword chis were dodged. As for the other 2, he urged the purple zombie to resist them. The purple zombie stretched out both of its palms. Like 2 purple thunderclouds, it pressed down viciously. Immediately, a purple light surrounded him, and a terrifying energy surged out. It was extremely powerful. Pun! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the 2 purple hands pressed down on the sword chi, instantly shattering the 2 sword chi. Just one move was enough to shatter the terrifying sword chi. This scene caused everyone to be extremely shocked. As for Wandong from the Gate of Golden Light, his pupils abruptly shrank. He did not expect the other party to be so powerful. With a roar, he brandished his sword again and quickly charged over. At the same time, the black-robed man rode the purple zombie and arrived in front of Wandong. That tall purple demonic figure was like an impenetrable wall. It was extremely powerful. It stretched out its purple palm, and with a whistling sound, it quickly grabbed forward. Wandong was shocked and raised his sword to block. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard, and the entire sky shook violently. Then the black-robed man waved his hand, and 2 short wooden sticks appeared, which he threw forward. The wooden sticks were very short, only 1 foot long. They were very old and bumpy. If the black-robed man did not use them and threw them on the ground, no one would take a second look at them. However, the 2 wooden sticks in the black-robed man's hand emitted a strange force. A terrifying light flashed out, and like 2 ghost claws, it instantly tore through the sky. Pun! The Gate of Golden Light disciple, Wang Dong, did not expect the black-robed man to have such a move. He was immediately hit, and was sent flying while vomiting blood. Seeing this scene, the crowd was in an uproar. The Gate of Golden Light martial artists roared angrily. "Damn it, you're cheating! 2 of you attacking 1 person, what kind of skill is that? If you're so capable, fight 1-on-1. Hearing this, the black-robed man sneered disdainfully. "Idiots! This zombie is my weapon! How can it be counted as 2 people? Of course, you're weak, so it's not impossible for the 2 of you to come at me together. I'll fulfill your wish and make you give up completely. All right. Let's go!" On the other side, the people of moon-worshipping cult roared. Then 2 disciples stood out. "Kill!" These were 2 4-star kings. At this moment, they unleashed their full power. Their bodies were shining brightly, and they were extremely powerful. One of them held a long saber in his hand and slashed forward. The terrifying saber light was like a divine saber from the heavenly realm. It was extremely sharp. The other disciple of moon-worshipping cult moved and appeared behind the black-robed man at an extremely fast speed. Then, he waved both of his palms. Countless moonlight shadows appeared, and a surging and majestic force quickly enveloped the black-robed man. 1 from the front and 1 from the back, they attacked each other. The 2 experts attacked at the same time, and they were extremely powerful. However, the black-robed man sneered. He suddenly turned around and waved his arm. Suddenly, the wooden sticks in his hand emitted a black light. The 2 attacks broke through the back and collided with the moonlight palm. At the same time, the purple zombie waved both of its palms. With a shocking force, it collided with the dazzling saber light, and a huge explosion occurred. "What? He blocked that! So powerful!" the crowd exclaimed. They did not expect that 2 4-star kings together could not take down the opponent. "Damn it, I don't believe it!" The disciple of moon-worshipping cult with the long saber roared and rushed forward again. Bang! 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 The purple zombie waved its palms and collided with the long saber dozens of times. Every strike tore through the void. Soon, the disciple with the long saber retreated rapidly. His arm was numb, and his face was extremely ugly. His long saber was an extremely terrifying treasure, but he could not hurt the opponent? What kind of physique did the purple zombie have? How could it be so hard? How could it resist his treasure with its bare hands? Haha, stop struggling. It's useless. This zombie was refined from the corpse of a 6-star king. You can't destroy it at all. The black-robed man sneered and said a shocking piece of news. What? The corpse of a 6-star king? The crowd was shocked, and their scalps went numb. No wonder the purple zombie was so powerful and invulnerable. It turned out that it was the corpse of a 6-star king. A 6-star king was extremely terrifying. It was an existence that was close to becoming an almighty. Moreover, the strongest among them was only a 4-star king tier. How could it break the body of a 6-star king? Thinking of this, the crowd's faces became very ugly. In the darkness, Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect the purple zombie to have such a background. The crimson dragon snorted coldly. It's nothing. It's just a zombie. It's not a real 6-star king. Both my dragon blood and your earth step treasure can break through it. Chapter 1585. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. The crimson dragon was right. The purple zombie was not a threat to them. What he needed to do now was to get the 3 subdivine crystals. Little White, it's up to you. The little white monkey nodded and started to collect the 3 subdivine crystals with its small bowl. Now that the little white monkey's strength had increased greatly and reached the king realm, it could snatch things from the king realm. However, as soon as the little white monkey started to move, the black-robed young man chuckled on the other side. He controlled the purple zombie and instantly arrived above the subdivine crystals. Then, he stretched out his large purple palm and grabbed the subdivine crystals. Oh no! Everyone's expression changed drastically. Even Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the black-robed young man to attack suddenly. Buzz! In the next moment, the little white monkey performed a technique and a subdivine crystal appeared in the shabby little bowl. The other 2 were grabbed by the purple zombie. The purple zombie swayed and returned to the black-robed young man's side. Damn it! Everyone's expression turned ugly. The black-robed young man laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha, only I deserve to have such things. Then, he took the subdivine crystals from the purple zombie's hand. However, in the next moment, his expression turned gloomy. Because there were only 2 subdivine crystals in the purple zombie's hand. The third one had disappeared. How is this possible? Why did one of them disappear? The black-robed young man could not understand what had happened. However, in the next moment, he glanced around and shouted coldly, "Who dares to touch my things? Get out here!" His voice was filled with boundless killing intent. When the surrounding people heard this, they were shocked. What's going on? Did someone secretly attack? However, they did not find anything unusual. Boy, what should we do? The Crimson Dragon asked on the other side. Snatch it! Lin Xian's voice was sonorous and without any hesitation. He was not satisfied with only 1 subdivine crystal. Therefore, he had to get the other 2. Let's attack together. I'll deal with the purple zombie and you deal with the black-robed young man, Lin Xian said to the Crimson Dragon. No problem. The Crimson Dragon nodded. Ben Wang hasn't exercised for a long time. Then, he let out a long howl. His sinister voice rang out. Ha ha, it was your grandfather who did it. Brat, hurry up and hand over the substandard divine crystal. Otherwise, Ben Wang will tear you apart. This voice was like a ghost howl, but it was also like a wolf's howl, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. The next moment, the figure of the Crimson Dragon appeared. Lin Xian also appeared in the void. What? There's someone else beside him. Seeing this scene, the crowd was astonished. They had not noticed the other party's existence at all. Thinking of this, they were shocked. When the black-robed youth saw Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, his face immediately turned gloomy. Damn it, it's you again! You dared to appear in front of me? I've said it before. This time, I will definitely kill the 2 of you and refine you into my mummies. The black-robed youth's voice was extremely sinister. Then, with a furious roar, he charged towards Lin Xian like a bolt of lightning. Attack! Lin Xian also shouted coldly. Then, he and the Crimson Dragon flew forward together. Lin Xian faced the purple zombie, while the Crimson Dragon charged towards the black-robed youth. Soon, the black-robed youth and the Crimson Dragon were engaged in a battle. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions. On the other side, Lin Xian faced the purple zombie. He waved his hand and blasted forward with shocking power. The purple zombie emitted a purple mist from its body, forming a purple light. Then, the purple zombie let out a deep roar. It sounded like the roar of a devil from hell, which made people's hair stand on end. His gray eyes emitted a terrifying light. It was eerie and extremely terrifying. Whoosh! The purple zombie moved like a bolt of lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air. It charged towards Lin Xian quickly. Then, it struck out with both of its palms and collided with Lin Xian's energy. The explosion sounded as if it was going to tear the starry sky apart. At the same time, the surrounding space shook violently. This exchange of blows caused everyone's eyes to widen in shock. A trace of fear appeared on their faces as they continuously retreated. So powerful! They can actually contend with the black-robed youth and the purple zombie? Who are they? The surrounding warriors were shocked when they saw the scene. Even the disciples of the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult could not believe it. They had experienced the strength of the black-robed youth and the purple zombie. They could easily kill them. Now there was someone who could fight them to a standstill. This was too shocking. Damn it! How is this possible? The black-robed youth was also shocked. He did not expect that there would be someone who could contend with him and his purple zombie. But soon he calmed down. He was very confident in his and the purple zombie's strength. He believed that it would not be long before he could kill them. On the other side, Lin Xian let out a long roar. He clenched his fist and pulled out the 9 Serenity demonic sword. The pitch-black sword light soared into the sky with a biting cold murderous aura. It was going to shatter the entire sky. At this moment, the surrounding people's faces changed. What a terrifying sword chi! Who is this kid? Could he be a disciple of a sword sect? Exclamations came one after another. Lin Xian held the 9 Serenity demonic sword in his hand. His entire body was extremely powerful. He struck out with his sword. The terrifying black sword light flew rapidly in the air as if it could tear the entire sky apart. Clang! The sword slashed directly at the purple zombie. It immediately cut through the fog around it and slammed into its body. With a bang, the purple zombie was sent flying. It smashed 3 mountains in a row before it stopped. Not only that, there was a sword mark on its body. Although it was not deep, it was very obvious. What? He hurt the purple zombie? How is this possible? The surrounding martial artists exclaimed, especially the disciples of the Golden Sword sect and the moon-worshipping cult. They even widened their eyes in disbelief. He had personally experienced the strength of the purple zombie. Even if they attacked it with their full strength, they could not break through its defense. Moreover, they also knew that the purple zombie was made from the corpse of a 6-star prince. It could be said that it was extremely powerful. As 4-star kings, they could not break through at all. But now, someone had hurt the purple zombie. And the other party's cultivation? Thinking of this, they hurriedly looked over. Then, their minds went blank. They were stunned. The other party was only a 2-star king. How was this possible? Impossible! On the other side, the black-robed youth was also shocked. His face was extremely ugly. Chapter 1586. He could feel that his purple zombie was injured, but he refused to believe that his opponent could hurt his purple zombie even if he was beaten to death. Damn this guy! How did he do it? Is it because of the sword in his hand? The black-robed youth had an extraordinary background and was even more knowledgeable. He naturally recognized that the sword in Lin Xian's hand was extraordinary, and made his hair stand on end. Earth-rank artifact! Damn it! You actually have an Earth-rank artifact! His voice was ferocious, and his eyes shone with a terrifying light of greed. There was nothing he could do about it. Earth-class artifacts were not something that could be found on the continent. Even in this true spirit token world, not everyone in the eastern wasteland could own one. At least, no one here had one. Ha ha! God is helping me! I didn't expect to find an Earth-rank artifact on top of a supreme-grade subdivine crystal. Kid, I have to say, you're really a treasure hunter. This Earth-rank artifact is mine. With that, he let out a ferocious laugh. Like a bolt of lightning, he abandoned the dark red divine dragon and charged towards Lin Xian. At the same time, he waved the wooden stick in his hand, sending out black lights that were like a black scythe of death. Clang! 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 Lin Xian waved the 9 Serenity demonic sword and cut all the attacks apart. At the same time, the crowd was in an uproar. Everyone was extremely shocked. Earth-rank artifact! He's actually using an Earth-rank artifact! No wonder he's so powerful! No wonder he could hurt the purple zombie! It's the power of an Earth-rank artifact! Who is he? Why does he have an Earth-rank artifact? And it doesn't look like an ordinary one. Who cares who he is? Since we've met him, There's no reason for us not to attack. The Golden Light Sect's warriors sneered. That's right. He's just a 2-star king. How can he have such a treasure? Ridiculous. Only our moon-worshipping cult deserves such a treasure. On the other side, the moon-worshipping cult's disciples were also shocked. In the next moment, they actually stood up together and flew towards Lin Xian. From the looks of it, they wanted to kill Lin Xian and seize the Earth-Step treasure. Humph! Seeing this scene, Lin Xian coldly snorted. Immediately, he waved his demonic sword, and 8 sword chi slashed downward. He didn't hold back at all in this sword strike. Since the other party dared to have designs on him, then he naturally had to pay the price. Pung pung pung. 8 streaks of sword chi, carrying a sharp light and monstrous killing intent, ruthlessly bombarded the bodies of the disciples of the Golden Light Sect and the moon-worshipping cult. Immediately, they were sent flying, and blood dyed the ground red. What? So strong! Seeing this scene, the people who came later all stopped in their tracks, their expressions uncertain. They had originally wanted to seize the other party's Earth-Step treasure, but now it seemed that it would be difficult to do so. The other party's strength was beyond their expectations. To be able to send 8 experts flying in an instant was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. Therefore, for a moment, no one dared to step forward. However, they did not give up. Humph, let the kid hold on for a while. When he and the black-robed man are both injured, then we'll make our move. Good idea, let's do that. At this time, the black-robed man in the sky also revealed a hideous smile. He raised his hands and continuously struck the wooden stick in his hand. Suddenly, a very strange sound was heard. It was very low and strange, and it made one's scalp tingle. However, the purple zombie let out a long roar, and a terrifying light appeared in his eyes. It was as if he had been reborn and obtained a powerful strength. Then, he let out a long roar, and his body swayed. Like a purple lightning bolt, he once again pounced toward Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian was not flustered at all. He was very calm. Then, he waved the 9 darkness demonic sword, and a terrifying sword chi slashed forward, ruthlessly slashing forward. The sword light flashed, and it was incomparably sharp. At the same time, the Crimson Dragon also quickly made his move. Suddenly, a terrifying palm shadow appeared quickly, forming a red hurricane that spiraled in the air. Vaguely, there was the shadow of a dragon circling around. Then, the red hurricane shone with a cold light and rushed forward quickly. Bang! 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 The huge purple zombie was once again pushed back. What? How is this possible? The black-robed man's face turned ugly. He had already used a secret skill to stimulate the purple zombie's energy, but he did not expect to be pushed back. How can these two be so powerful? Brat, you forced me to do this. I'm going to kill all of you. The black-robed man's face was unusually hideous. Then, he struck the wooden stick again, and a strange rhythm was heard in the air. Roar! Roar! As soon as the sound was heard, the purple zombie became even more violent. An endless aura of death was emitted from his body, and it quickly spread in all directions. At this moment, he was like a demon king, and he was extremely terrifying. Not only that, the black-robed man came to the purple zombie's body again and merged with it. Suddenly, an even more terrifying energy gushed out and shrouded the entire area. The entire space seemed to have turned into azure hell. Kill! Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not hold back either. Both of them exploded with dazzling energy. The battle was extremely terrifying. Sword chi soared into the sky, and the dragon's shadow roared, shaking the entire area. Countless mountains were turned into rubble. Brat, kill him quickly! The Crimson Dragon snorted coldly, and then dripped a drop of dragon blood. Okay. Lin Xian nodded and took the drop of dragon blood. Then, he smeared it on the blade of the 9 hidden demonic sword. Suddenly, the long sword emitted a strange energy. Red and black light intertwined, causing the entire space to shake violently. How terrifying! What kind of technique is this? Everyone felt their scalps go numb, and they kept retreating. On the opposite side, the black-robed man saw this scene and his heart beat wildly. Even the purple zombie that he was sitting on started to roar uneasily, as if it had met its natural enemy. Damn it, how is this possible? Destroy! The black-robed man roared ferociously. Heaven ferocious palm. Suddenly, the purple zombie stretched out both palms, and two palms that were like mountains pushed out horizontally. On the other side, Lin Xian also slashed down with his sword. This sword was extremely sharp. Moreover, it contained the power of dragon blood. The Crimson Dragon was a pure-blooded dragon. His blood was very masculine and could destroy all evil things. Coupled with the sharpness of the 9 hidden demonic sword, even if the purple zombie was refined from a 6-star king's corpse, it would not be able to resist at all. Sure enough, in the next moment, the sharp sword light fell and directly cut the two purple palms. Then, it ruthlessly slashed at the purple zombie. Puff! The clouds rolled, and the wind howled. The entire space shook violently as if it had been cut in half by the sword. What? Damn it! The black-robed man was horrified. His body swayed, and he left the purple zombie. The purple zombie also roared angrily. Then, it was enveloped by the sword light and was cut in half. Everyone was stunned. They could not believe that Lin Xian had killed the purple zombie. This technique was too heaven-defying. Chapter 1587. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe that Lin Fan had killed the purple zombie. This kind of method was seriously too heaven-defying. Impossible! Damn it! That's impossible! The black-robed man was sent flying. This was because he had been swept by the aftershock of the sword qi. Although he was not seriously injured, the qi and blood in his body were extremely chaotic and surging non-stop. However, he couldn't care less about that now. He was in a frenzy. Because his purple zombie had been split into 2 halves. He couldn't believe it. The purple zombie was refined from the corpse of a 6-star king. It was terrifying. The black-robed man could defeat all the 4-star king realm martial artists. Even if he encountered a 5-star king, he could still put up a fight. But now, a 2-star king had actually destroyed his purple zombie. Brat, just you wait. How dare you destroy my zombie? I won't let you go! The black-robed man gritted his teeth. His face was gloomy. Then, he turned to leave. He didn't dare to stay any longer. His most powerful zombie had been destroyed. You want to leave? Sure. Leave the subgrade divine crystal. Lin Xian's figure flashed and blocked his path. What? You dare to take the subgrade divine crystal? You're courting death. The black-robed man was furious. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him and take the subgrade divine crystal, the Crimson Dragon said coldly. Lin Xian nodded. It seemed like that was the only way. His body emitted a sharp aura again. Rays of sword radiance surrounded him. The black-robed man's face changed. He had seen Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's power. It wouldn't be difficult for them to kill him. However, he was unwilling to hand over the subdivine crystal just like that. Therefore, he roared and waved his hand. He summoned 6 mummies again and charged forward. As for himself, his figure flashed and he fled into the distance like a black bolt of lightning. You want to leave? The Crimson Dragon snorted. He waved his dragon claw. A huge dragon claw came crashing down. It was like a huge heaven and earth cage, sealing the entire space in an instant. Pun! The black-robed man crashed into the huge dragon claw seal and was bounced back. His face immediately became even uglier. How dare you touch me? You must be tired of living. I'm from the Chasing Corpse sect. Seeing that he could not escape, the black-robed man could only reveal his identity to threaten everyone. What? The Chasing Corpse sect is actually that sect. Damn it! Why did they come to the Eastern Wasteland? Everyone was extremely shocked, and their faces were filled with horror. This was because the Chasing Corpse sect was an extremely evil and ancient sect. No one knew how long they had existed, but they seemed to have existed since ancient times. Not only that, this sect was very strange. They would refine corpses and use them as weapons to fight. He had even transformed himself into something that was neither human nor ghost. It could be said to be very strange. Under normal circumstances, no one was willing to provoke them. However, over the years, the Chasing Corpse sect had disappeared without a trace. Everyone thought that they would never appear again. Who would have thought that they would appear again? The Crimson Dragon also frowned. However, he had already guessed it. On the other side, Lin Xian shouted coldly, "What Chasing Corpse sect? I've never heard of it. If you don't hand over the subdivine crystal today, don't even think about leaving." To be honest, he had indeed never heard of the Chasing Corpse sect. Even if he had, so what? He had the dragon's sword soul. As long as he had enough energy as motivation, his future would be limitless. How could he be afraid of the Chasing Corpse sect? Therefore, he did not hesitate to attack with his sword. "You're courting death!" The black-robed man's pupils constricted. He was extremely furious. He did not expect that after he revealed his identity, his opponents still dared to attack him. Did he not know how terrifying the Chasing Corpse sect was? Was he not afraid of the Chasing Corpse sect's revenge? However, before he could think further, the terrifying sword radiance had already slashed toward him. "You're courting death! Get lost!" The black-robed man roared and attacked with his palm. Instantly, the sword radiance was shattered. However, in the next moment, an even sharper sword radiance surged out again. "Azure Dragon Break!" The black dragon was mixed with red blood. At that time, the dragon blood of the Crimson Dragon was extremely powerful. In an instant, the black-robed man was engulfed. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth lost their color as the sword radiance swept across. The entire space fell into chaos. When everything disappeared, the black-robed man was no longer there. There was only a huge pit in the ground. He was killed! Seeing this scene, everyone's scalp went numb. They could not believe it. Such a terrifying black-robed man was killed with a single strike. This was too unbelievable. At this moment, they looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. Although this young man was only a 2-star king, his strength had already surpassed theirs. In fact, everyone felt like running away. They no longer dared to have any thoughts about Lin Xian's sword. Lin Xian waved his hand and put away the 2 subdivine crystals. Then, he looked around, intimidating everyone. With a cold snort, he and the Crimson Dragon turned into 2 streaks of light and disappeared in the air. After they had left for a long time, the surrounding martial artists heaved a sigh of relief. It was too terrifying. The sword radiance emitted by the other party made them feel like they were suffocating. Fortunately, the other party had left and did not attack them. Otherwise, they would definitely be in deep trouble. They might even lose their lives here. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Divine Dragon and Hong moved and arrived at a safe cave. Then, he gave the Crimson Dragon a subdivine crystal. He held the remaining 2 in his hand and quickly absorbed them. He would not keep such treasures to prevent others from snatching them away. He might as well turn them into his own strength. Pure energy surged in and turned into dazzling light that surrounded him. After half a day, Lin Xian opened his eyes. The spiritual energy in his body had increased significantly, but there was no breakthrough. This was normal. Lin Xian was not surprised. This was because the amount of energy he needed to break through was several times more than the previous time. 2 supreme-grade substandard divine crystals were not enough at all. However, the harvest this time was not small. Lin Xian's strength had increased once again. At least among the 4-star kings, he could do whatever he wanted. On the other side, the Divine Dragon and Hong had also absorbed the subdivine crystal. She felt like she had not had enough. The 2 discussed for a while and continued on their journey. This time, they flew towards the deepest part of Feng Mountain. This was because there had already been a shocking change. Someone had used a powerful technique to tear open the barrier inside, causing endless ghostly qi to surge out. However, this change also allowed the people outside to finally be able to enter. Chapter 1588. The ghostly qi in Feng Mountain was dense. The further one went in, the more fearful it was. In the end, Lin Xian had no choice but to activate the great dragon sword soul to protect himself. The crimson dragon also activated its defense, and the dragon blood in its body surged. At this point, there were already many martial artists around. They were in groups of 3 or 5, or a dozen or so, forming small groups. There was almost no one who fought alone like Lin Xian. Therefore, many people kept sizing up Lin Xian. However, no one rashly made a move. That was because those who could come here were not fools. Moreover, they knew that since Lin Xian could appear here, he must have the strength to do so. They did not have extra energy to care about Lin Xian because there was another change in front of them. One of the mountain ranges was penetrated, and countless ghostly qi emerged. It was as black as ink and incomparably monstrous. Not only that, but the tens of thousands of corpses buried in the mountain range turned into zombies and ghosts under the infusion of the ghostly qi. Tens of thousands of them charged toward these martial artists. Kill! Furious roars rang out one after another. These cultivators did not hesitate and displayed their powerful strength to fight back. That was because they could not move forward without killing these ghosts. Among them, there were a few figures who were extremely powerful. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. The aura of these people was too powerful. The blood in their bodies rumbled and even produced the sound of thunder. So powerful! Who are they? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Almighty! The Crimson Dragon's expression was also solemn. When a martial artist reached the level of a 7-star king or above, they would be given a title, which was Almighty. This kind of person was too terrifying. With a raise of their hand, they could tear mountains and rivers apart, and pluck the stars and capture the moon. It was most appropriate to call them Almighty. Almighty! Hearing that, Lin Xian was shocked. He looked over and thought, is this the existence of a 7-star king or above? It's really terrifying. Just the aura emitted by those people was enough to make him shudder with fear. It seemed that this was a true peerless expert. Sure enough, the few almighties at the front harumphed coldly. Immediately, they waved their palms, and numerous gigantic hands descended from the sky. In an instant, all the zombies and ghosts below were killed. As for the surrounding martial artists, they were all shocked and retreated one after another, afraid that they would be implicated. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also retreated to a safe place. In front of them, ghostly aura filled the sky and energy surged. Soon, a few sky-covering hands destroyed all the ghostly creatures and zombies. This was the power of a powerful being. With a raise of his hand, he was able to wipe out tens of thousands of ghosts. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Humph, you're just a mere ghost. You want to stop me? How laughable! A cold voice rang out, causing the void to tremble. It was a middle-aged man in white robes. His body was surrounded by a resplendent saber light. Who would have thought that an ancient tomb would appear in the Fengshan fan? How rare! On the other side, there was a hearty laugh. Then, a monk appeared in the sky. His entire body was shining with Buddhist light. The light was so bright that it suppressed all the ghostly aura around him. Master's dermic power is getting purer and purer. The Diamond Prajna technique has probably been cultivated to the 7th level. Another old voice rang out. Then, an immortal-like old man appeared. He was surrounded by flames and wore a robe. He looked like an immortal. Danchunzi, you're here as well. The others looked over. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was shocked beyond words. Although he didn't know the old Taoist in the sky, he was very familiar with his name. Danchunzi was the sect master of Danzong. In other words, the old Taoist in the sky was the current sect master of Danzong, Danchunzi. He didn't expect that even the sect master of Danzong would come. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Kid, be careful, the Crimson Dragon reminded him. The blue wave pill appearing in Danzone might have something to do with Danchenzi. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, it wouldn't make sense if Danchenzi didn't know about such a big thing. He just didn't know if it was Danchenzi's doing. But no matter what, he didn't want to have anything to do with him. After that, 2 more powerful beings appeared. Now, there were a total of 5 powerful beings standing in the sky, causing the void to distort and distort. One of them was a white-robed middle-aged man surrounded by blade light. He was a powerful figure of the Golden Light sect. The monk was a powerful figure of the White Horse Temple. However, Buddhism was mainly in the western desert, and was rare in the eastern wilderness. But there were still some. The White Horse Temple was one of the more famous Buddhist holy lands. Danchenzi was the sect master of Danzone. There was also a middle-aged woman. She was a powerful figure of the moon-worshipping sect. The last one was surrounded by ghostly aura that made people's scalps tingle. Many martial artists even thought that he was a zombie or a ghost. However, he was indeed a powerful cultivator. He was a powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect. When this powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect appeared, the other powerful figures immediately frowned. This was because the Chasing Corpse sect was usually in the southern mountains, and there were almost none in the eastern wilderness. But now, he had appeared. It was very strange. Humph, I didn't expect the Chasing Corpse sect to come here. What a surprise! Pu Shan, a powerful figure of the White Horse Temple, said coldly. They were Buddhists who subdued demons and devils, and they cultivated the most yang techniques. The other party obviously cultivated the Gul Dao, which was the opposite of Buddhist techniques. When the two of them met, their auras collided, causing countless cracks to appear in the void. Why? Can't I come? Mount Fong is very suitable for our Chasing Corpse sect. The powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect said coldly. Your voice is like a ghost. It makes people's scalps tingle. Old bald donkey, if you dare to be disrespectful to me again, I'll refine you into a zombie. The powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect glared at Pu Shan and said ferociously. The Buddhist aura on the other party's body made him very uncomfortable. Humph, refine me into a zombie? You're really boasting shamelessly. Why don't I purify you first? Pu Shan shouted coldly. His body shone brightly, and he walked in the void like a Buddha. Humph, I'm not afraid of you. The two of them refused to accept each other, and their auras became stronger and stronger. However, at this time, Danchenzi waved his sleeve and said loudly, Why are you two so angry? Since we're all here for the great ancient tomb, there's no need to quarrel here. Why don't we temporarily work together to break all the seals? What do you think? Okay. The middle-aged man of the Golden Light sect nodded first. Then, the woman in red from the moon-worshipping sect also agreed. In the end, the powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect and Pu Shan of the White Horse Temple snorted coldly, but they did not refuse. Chapter 1589. Although they were mighty figures with immense power, the great ancient tomb was no child's play. It was bound to be fraught with danger and countless seals. It was indeed a good idea for the 5 of them to work together temporarily. In that case, let's go, Danchenzi said as he rose into the air. The other almighties followed suit. The gloomy elder from the Chasing Corpse sect frowned. He turned his head abruptly and stared at the crowd below. His gaze turned into a black saber light that pierced into the void. Oh no! In the crowd, Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. His body swayed and formed a clone on the spot. Then, his real body instantly hid. Poof! In the next moment, the clone was pierced and then shattered into pieces. And when the surrounding martial artists saw this, there was a burst of exclamations, extremely terrified. They did not expect the mighty figure in the sky to attack them. Damn it, what are you doing? The middle-aged man from the sect of Golden Light's expression darkened when he saw this. That was because there were many disciples from the sect of Golden Light in the direction where the mighty figure from the Chasing Corpse sect attacked. The others also looked over with unfriendly expressions. Normally, people like them wouldn't make a move against juniors. However, this mighty figure from the chasing corpse sect dared to attack. It was unbearable. Faced with the questioning gazes of the others, the mighty figure from the chasing corpse sect was not afraid. Among the cultivators below, I discovered someone with corpse ghost chi. He must have fought with the disciples of my chasing corpse sect. Of course we have to kill this kind of person. Hearing this, the disciples below twitched their mouths and felt their scalps go numb. He had to be killed just because he fought with the chasing corpse sect disciples? That was too overbearing. However, Pu Shan shouted coldly, "If you dare attack again, don't blame me for not holding back and suppressing you." The middle-aged man from the sect of Golden Light and the woman in red from the moon-worshipping cult also looked at him with unfriendly gazes. After all, this guy from the chasing corpse sect did not play by the rules. He was too much of a threat to the disciples of their sect. However, the mighty figure from the chasing corpse sect said coldly, "Since that person has been killed, I won't attack." "All right, let's go," Dan Chenzi said loudly. At this moment, Dan Chenzi said in a clear voice. Afterwards, the five of them nodded and turned into streaks of light again, flying forward. In the crowd, Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, he had used a clone to dodge the other party's attack. At the same time, he used a secret technique to hide his aura. At the same time, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul to eliminate the weak ghostly aura on his body. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. It was too terrifying. If it weren't for his quick reflexes and the many secret techniques in his hands, he would have been killed just now. Damn chasing corpse sect! Lin Xian gritted his teeth, his gaze dark. From now on, he would be even more careful. But now, he didn't have any unusual aura on his body, so the other party shouldn't be able to discover him. After that, he mixed in with the crowd of martial artists and set off forward. With 5 mighty figures paving the way, their speed was extremely fast. Even if any powerful ghosts appeared, they would be killed with a single palm strike. Furthermore, not long ago, 2 skeletal creatures over 300 meters tall had appeared. However, they had been completely crushed by the moon summoned by that woman from the moon-worshipping sect. This method caused everyone to be extremely shocked once again. Lin Xian also knew that although that woman looked to be in her 30s, her true age was probably over 1,000 years old. It was probably the same for the other people. Finally, the group entered the deepest part of Feng Mountain. There, endless ghostly aura surged and turned into 4 ghostly dragons. They circled around each other and dragged a giant bronze coffin. The aura was too terrifying. One look at it would make one tremble. If it weren't for the 5 mighty figures standing in front, the surrounding martial artists would have been unable to withstand it. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon blended in with the crowd and looked forward. At this time, He Tu also exclaimed, "It's a giant bronze coffin! This ancient tomb is too strange. What is it trying to do?" Lin Xian was puzzled. "What's wrong? What's wrong with the bronze coffin?" At the side, the Crimson Dragon explained. "Normally, wooden coffins are used. Very few people use metal coffins. Any coffin made of metal is extremely strange. I didn't expect that there would be such a bronze coffin in this ancient tomb." As expected, the 5 mighty figures in front frowned when they saw this scene. "It's actually a bronze coffin. How surprising. The ghostly aura around it is too thick. I can't see clearly." As the few of them conversed, Pu Shan of White Horse Temple waved his hand. A Buddhist seal pushed out and tore apart the thick ghostly aura. Immediately, the scene inside appeared clearly in front of everyone's eyes. Then, everyone was shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the 5 mighty figures' pupils constricted and their faces turned solemn. That was because they discovered that there was a crystal the size of a millstone near the bronze coffin. It was shining brightly. At the same time, there was an extremely pure energy. "Divine crystal!" The mighty figures were shocked and could not believe it. After the surrounding martial artists heard it, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Divine crystal! They did not expect that crystal to be a divine crystal. Furthermore, it was such a large piece. At this moment, Even He-Tu and the Crimson Dragon were extremely shocked. Divine crystals were true treasures. They were even more precious than supreme-grade substandard divine crystals. A piece of divine crystal was equivalent to countless supreme-grade substandard divine crystals, let alone such a large piece. The Crimson Dragon immediately became excited. If he could obtain that piece of divine crystal, he could immediately recover his cultivation and even improve it. Lin Xian was also extremely shocked when he heard about it. Then, he looked ahead with a fiery gaze. He did not expect that such a peerless treasure would appear here. As for He-Tu, he directly said, "Don't even think about it. The two of you have no chance. Let's not talk about that bronze coffin first. It's definitely not that simple. Even if there are 5 mighty figures here, you won't be able to defeat them. So, don't even think about that divine crystal." Lin Xian sighed. As for the Crimson Dragon, he was also extremely unwilling. If Ben Huang was in his prime, he would have snatched it long ago. In front of them, the 5 mighty figures also had fiery gazes because they were the ones most likely to obtain the divine crystal. However, although their gazes were fiery, they did not dare to act rashly. This was because the scene was too strange. A person who had been dead for God knows how many years was being nourished with such a precious divine crystal. What is he trying to do? Does he really want to be reborn? Whose tomb is this? How could he have such a bold idea? Yeah, not only was he buried in a place like Foam Mountain, but he was also being nourished with a peerless treasure like the divine crystal. What is he trying to do? Chapter 1590. The few of them were discussing with uncertain expressions. The surrounding warriors exclaimed. Naturally, they didn't dare to have any ideas and could only watch the show. Lin Xian didn't stay idle either. He secretly performed a technique and prepared to investigate. As the successor of the Dragon Sword, he had obtained many martial arts techniques from the 4th successor of the Dragon Sword, as well as He-Tu's teachings. Therefore, the secret techniques in his hands were endless. For example, techniques that could hide one's aura so that even almighties couldn't detect it. For example, the cloning technique and the current martial Dao Heavenly Eye. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was also an extremely precious divine martial art. Even in those ancient families and peerless sacred grounds, it wasn't something that anyone could learn. Fortunately, He-Tu had such a technique, so Lin Xian could learn it. After secretly activating the martial Dao Heavenly Eye, Lin Xian's eyes became extremely deep, and there were even strange runes flickering. In the next moment, he looked ahead. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was extremely magical and claimed to be able to see through everything and distinguish between falsehood and falsehood. Sure enough, Lin Xian noticed that the ghostly aura in front of him had become much dimmer. His gaze could even directly penetrate it and land on the huge bronze coffin. Not only that, Lin Xian also discovered something even more magical. That was, his gaze was directly cast over the bronze coffin, looking inside. However, what surprised him was that there wasn't a corpse inside, but a crystal coffin. The crystal coffin was crystal clear and emitted colorful light. It was just that no one noticed it inside the bronze coffin. What's going on? It's actually a double official coffin? Lin Xian was shocked. Then, he transmitted what he saw to the Crimson Dragon and He-Tuesday. After the two heard it, they were also extremely shocked. This is incredible. What is this guy trying to do? A double coffin is very rare since ancient times. Could that guy really come back to life? The two were shocked. At this moment, Lin Xian's eyes widened. Because he discovered something even more unbelievable. Because Lin Xian discovered that there was a blurry shadow floating towards the bronze coffin in front of him. However, he was the only one who noticed it. The people around him didn't seem to notice it at all. Even the 5 almighties didn't notice it. What was going on? Was that a human or a ghost? Lin Xian was shocked. He quickly activated his martial Dao Heavenly Eye to take a closer look. This matter was too strange. There was actually someone who could avoid everyone without anyone noticing, including the five Almighties. That person floated towards the bronze coffin. What was he trying to do? Was it to seize the five-colored crystal coffin? Or that millstone-sized divine crystal? Lin Xian didn't know, but he felt his heart beating faster. But in the next moment, when he saw that person's face, he opened his mouth wide and screamed. The reason for that was because the blurry figure before them was actually Dan Qinzi. That's right, that face was Dan Qinzi's face. It was exactly the same without any changes. At that moment, the illusory figure directly floated into the bronze coffin. It seemed like it wanted to attack the five-colored crystal coffin. What was going on? Why was it Dan Qinzi? Lin Xian didn't dare to believe it. If that illusory figure was Dan Qinzi, then who was the figure before them? Two Dan Qinzis? Or was it a secret technique clone? Lin Xian didn't know, but he realized that Dan Qinzi was too strange. Not only was he secretly stealing the bronze coffin, but he was also connected to the strange blue wave pill. He was definitely a dangerous person. However, at that moment, the middle-aged man in the golden door spoke. Since we've already discovered the coffin, let's do it. Open the coffin and see what treasures are inside. Hearing that, the other Almighties nodded and prepared to attack. Lin Xian paid special attention to Dan Qinzi. He realized that Dan Qinzi only nodded slightly and didn't say anything. It seemed like he wasn't as enthusiastic as before. At that moment, the White Horse Temple's Almighty Pu Shan also turned his head and spoke to the cultivators behind him. Next, we'll break the formation. I'm afraid there will be terrifying energy spilling out. You'd better back off to avoid being affected and losing your lives. Hearing that, countless cultivators quickly retreated. They didn't dare to get any closer. If even the Almighty said so, then it would definitely be extremely dangerous. In the crowd, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also retreated. However, Lin Xian's eyes became even more profound. He activated his martial Dao Heavenly Eye to the extreme. The five Almighties formed a line and walked forward. Then, the ghostly aura in front of them suddenly surged. A gale swept through, causing the sky and earth to change. A terrifying cold aura was emitted from the bronze coffin. It seemed to be warning the five Almighties. Humph! The middle-aged man in the golden door snorted coldly and attacked first. He waved his arm. Suddenly, a clanging sound was heard. A huge sword light streaked across the sky, easily cutting the entire space apart. On the other side, the woman in red from the moon-worshipping cult also waved her hand. Suddenly, a full moon rose in the sky. It shone brightly, causing the entire space to collapse. Pu Shan shouted in a low voice. A Buddhist seal was pushed out from his palm, emitting a dazzling light. The chasing corpse sex Almighties also sneered. He waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a ball of black light rushed forward quickly. It turned into a ghost head, circulating with a cold aura. Finally, Dan Qinzi also attacked. A sky full of flames floated in the air and rushed forward. The five Almighties attacked. It was earth-shattering. The momentum was extremely terrifying. The entire Feng Mountain range shook violently as if it would collapse at any time. The bronze coffin in front of them was completely enraged. It emitted ghostly aura and connected with the surrounding formation. It condensed into 8 ghostly dragons, roaring in all directions. At that moment, the sky and earth lost their color. Countless runes and ghostly aura shone in the air. The entire space was in turmoil. The people in the distance were shocked. Their eyelids twitched wildly. Fortunately, with Pu Shan's warning, they had retreated early and arrived at a safe place. Otherwise, just the aftermath of this energy would be enough to kill them thousands of times over. Is this the power of the Almighties? They're so powerful! Lin Xian looked at the scene. He was also excited. He could not help but clench his fists. When can I reach this level of combat power? He yearned for it. It doesn't matter. As long as you have enough energy crystals, you'll reach this level sooner or later, He Tu said slowly. Hearing that, Lin Xian nodded. Then, he used his martial Dao Heavenly Eye again and stared ahead. At the same time, he paid close attention to the scene inside the bronze coffin. The battle outside had erupted. However, an illusory figure was still sitting cross-legged inside the bronze coffin. It seemed to be breaking the five-colored crystal coffin. However, at that moment, there was a loud boom. The entire world shook. Everyone's expression changed. They all looked over. Even Lin Xian frowned. It turned out that the formation in front of them had been broken by the five Almighties. They had been strong all the way. After removing all the ghostly aura, they finally arrived in front of the bronze coffin. At that moment, the five of them could no longer remain calm. They looked at the tall bronze coffin and the millstone-sized divine crystal in front of them. Everyone was excited. Chapter 1591. However, they knew that in order to obtain the divine crystal, they had to destroy the bronze coffin first. Otherwise, they would not be able to obtain it. Everyone, this is the last step. Let's work together to open the bronze coffin and obtain the treasure. The middle-aged man from the Golden Light sect said in a deep voice. All right. Everyone nodded. Since they had already reached this step, they naturally had to work together to open the coffin. At this moment, the Chasing Corpse sect's powerhouse sneered. Everything else is easy, but the corpse inside must be mine. Whoever dares to snatch it from me, don't blame me for not showing mercy. As a member of the Chasing Corpse sect, he was most interested in the corpse inside the coffin. There must be a peerless figure buried inside the coffin. Perhaps he was even stronger than them. If they could use the corpse to refine zombies into weapons, it would be unimaginably terrifying. Humph! Hearing this, Pu Shan snorted coldly. The others were silent, but their faces were solemn. Indeed, the corpse inside was useless to them, but they did not want the other party to obtain it. That was because they did not want to increase the strength of the Chasing Corpse sect. They would talk about this after they opened the coffin. The corpse inside might have already rotted. At this moment, the woman in red from the moon-worshipping cult said slowly, The five of us will work together to attack the bronze coffin. The attack this time was much more difficult than the previous one. The bronze coffin was covered with inscriptions. Now that it was attacked, all of them flickered and formed strange runes that filled the entire void. The five powerhouses displayed their powerful strength. Their bodies flickered with dazzling light that shot into the sky. This attack was enough to flatten the entire Fengshan mountain range. However, when it hit the bronze coffin, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It did not even cause a ripple. This scene caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The five Almighty's expressions were also extremely solemn. Everyone, I think there's no need for us to hide our strength anymore. Let's go all out. The middle-aged man from the Golden Light sect said in a deep voice. Indeed, although the powerhouses had attacked with terrifying strength, they had not gone all out. That was because they had reserved some strength for the battle for the treasure later. However, it seemed that they would not be able to open the bronze coffin without going all out. All right. Looks like this is the only way. The five of them prepared to go all out. Then, the five of them unleashed their full power. Their bodies exploded with dazzling light like five suns, illuminating the void. An incomparably horrifying energy burst out from the five of them. It was incomparably vast, like a river of stars that surged forward rapidly. This strike caused the sky to collapse. It was powerful to the extreme. However, the bronze coffin was too strange. Mysterious inscriptions gushed out, and together with the surrounding divine crystals providing energy, it emitted an even more resplendent radiance to resist. After the energy explosion, there was nothing in front of them. No one could see anything clearly. They could only use their soul force to capture a trace of its trajectory. As for Lin Xian, he activated his martial Dao heavenly eye and observed carefully. While the people outside were fighting ferociously, the illusory figure inside the bronze coffin did not stop. His fingers slid, forming a series of special trajectories, and slapped the five-colored crystal coffin. At this moment, Lin Xian felt a strange sensation. He saw strange runes fly out from the five-colored crystal coffin, floating in the air. Then it disappeared. However, the illusory figure did not seem to notice this scene at all, and the surrounding people did not notice it either. Could it be that I'm the only one who saw it again? Lin Xian was shocked, and then he was overjoyed. Although he did not know what those strange runes represented, he could feel that they contained powerful energy. Remember it! At this moment, Lin Xian did not hesitate at all and activated his martial Dao Heavenly Eye to the extreme. He used his heart to remember those flickering runes in his mind. At this moment, Lin Xian's mind was empty, and he forgot everything around him. There was only one flickering rune in his eyes. And all of this was only seen by him. The surrounding people, including the five mighty figures and the mysterious illusory figure in the bronze coffin, did not see it. However, when the last rune flickered and disappeared in the sky, the five-colored crystal coffin suddenly trembled. Then, the bronze coffin slowly opened, and endless ghosts rushed out. And the five-layered crystal coffin flew out from inside. What? There's another one! And it's a five-colored crystal coffin! Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the five almighties were stunned. They did not expect that there was not a corpse in the coffin, but another crystal coffin. What the hell is going on? They could not understand at all. At this moment, Dan Chenzi's expression was extremely gloomy. His eyes were filled with endless anger. He snorted coldly, and the illusory figure in the bronze coffin quickly disappeared, turning into a wisp of green smoke and returning to his body. Then, he no longer cared about anything else. He reached out a hand and grabbed in front of him. That's right, the illusory figure from before was released by him. He hid it from the other four mighty figures and secretly peeked at the five-colored crystal coffin, wanting to know the secrets inside. But he did not expect that the five-colored crystal coffin would fly out by itself. This made him extremely shocked, and at the same time infuriated. Because if he had a little more time, he might have been able to open the coffin and obtain the secrets inside. But now, all of that was gone. Therefore, he had to make a move and obtain the five-colored crystal coffin before anyone else. Dan Chenzi's move was so sudden that the four mighty figures could not react in time. But the five-colored crystal coffin flickered with light, and then like a shocking rainbow, it turned into a ray of light and flew into the sky with the divine crystal. Boom! The void in front of him exploded, and the five-colored crystal coffin quickly dodged. Humph! Where do you think you're going? Dan Chenzi roared angrily, and then with a flash of his body, he turned into a ray of white light and instantly rushed over. He would not let the five-colored crystal coffin go. The other four were also stunned. But soon, they came back to their senses, and their bodies flickered as they chased after Dan Chenzi. In an instant, the five mighty figures disappeared into the sky. Only the martial artists on the ground were left behind, extremely shocked. Lin Xian was also astonished. He had never expected something like this to happen. It must have something to do with the runes he obtained. What exactly are these strange runes? Did Dan Chenzi think of them too? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. However, now was not the time to think about these things. He would ask He Tu after he left. The most important thing now was to leave this place. However, just as he was about to call the Crimson Dragon to leave, the situation changed again. Chapter 1592. Lin Xian was about to ask the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey to leave when there was another change in front of them. In the bronze coffin, other than the colorful crystal coffin, there were countless treasures. After the coffin was opened, they were carried out by the ghostly aura and scattered in all directions. Look! Treasures have fallen! Let's go and grab them! Ha! We're rich! Amazing treasures! We must grab more! Frenzied voices could be heard. The surrounding martial artists had all gone crazy. Their bodies swayed and they rushed in all directions. Kid, this is a good chance. Grab them quickly! The Crimson Dragon was also crazy. He used a secret technique and split into 8 dragon shadows. They rushed in all directions to grab the treasures that had fallen. The snow-white monkey was also hugging a small shabby bowl and collecting the treasures. Lin Xian also took action, but he only collected the treasures around him. He did not grab the treasures that were further away. He did not want to attract too much attention. Although these treasures were good, they were far inferior to the strange runes that he had obtained. Those were runes that even the 5 Almighties could not obtain, but he had obtained them. Therefore, he only wanted to return to a safe place. Lin Xian sent a voice transmission to the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey, asking them to stop and leave this place quickly. The Crimson Dragon naturally knew that a tall tree would attract the wind. Therefore, he did his best to grab the treasures and was ready to leave. The group of people moved and quickly flew outside. However, at this moment, the void fluctuated and a cold light condensed and slashed at them. Suddenly, the place where Lin Xian was standing was penetrated, and a bottomless black hole appeared. Damn it! Someone is attacking us! Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect to be targeted. The Crimson Dragon was also mad. Damn it! Who is it? Come out! How dare you attack Ben Wang? Ben Wang will tear you apart! He was too angry that someone dared to attack him. How audacious! Even the Snow-White Monkey was waving its paws in anger. It was very dissatisfied. A figure appeared in the sky. His entire body was wrapped in light, making it impossible to see whether he was real or fake. However, that pair of ice-cold eyes were like the edge of a blade, causing people's hearts to turn cold. Who are you? Lin Xian asked coldly. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you hand over everything and I can spare you. Otherwise, you'll have to stay on Feng Mountain as ghosts. Humph, what shameless boasting! The Crimson Dragon was furious. With a wave of its claw, a dragon's shadow roared and rushed upward. Netherworld finger! That person flicked his finger, and a black finger light quickly flew downwards. There were a total of 5 finger lights. Each of them was incomparably black and had a terrifying aura flowing around them. Spurt! Spurt! 5 pitch-black finger lights, like divine swords of the netherworld, quickly pierced through the dragon's shadow. It's useless. You can't escape. Just hand over everything obediently. That person said coldly. Many surrounding cultivators also saw this scene and immediately whispered to each other. That must be Lu Tianyi from the Golden Light sect. Yes, it's him. I didn't expect him to make a move. He's a late-stage 4-star king. Among the 4-star kings, almost no one is his match. Who are those people? They're actually targeted by Lu Tianyi. I'm afraid they're doomed this time. Everyone was discussing. Golden Light sect? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked up. You really want to make a move? His eyes flickered as the great dragon sword soul in his body circulated. Of course. The supreme grade subdivine crystal isn't something you can have. Hand it over. Lu Tianyi said slowly with great confidence in his eyes. He had long had his eyes on Lin Xian because he had heard from his junior brother that Lin Xian had 2 supreme grade subdivine crystals. Therefore, he attacked Lin Xian. So, you're actually after the supreme grade subdivine crystals? In that case, I can't let you live. Lin Xian's voice was cold as light bloomed in his eyes. I'm in a hurry, so I can only deal with you quickly. Humph, shameless boasting. You want to deal with me? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Above, Lu Tianyi revealed a trace of disdain. Then, he waved his finger again, and 5 nether fingers flew out quickly. Every finger was as black as ink and flickered with cold light as they pierced through the void. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly as he clenched his fists and punched out. The resplendent fist was like the sun, and terrifying waves of air rolled as it directly shattered all the nether fingers. In the next moment, Lin Xian struck out with the 9 darkness demonic sword, and his entire person was swift and fierce to the extreme. On the demonic sword, black sword light circulated rapidly, and sword chi flickered as it slashed through the void. So powerful! Who is he? The surrounding cultivators were shocked and retreated one after another. They originally thought that Lin Xian and the others were dead for sure, but now it seemed that it wasn't necessarily the case. The aura he displayed was too powerful. It shocked them to the core. Especially that demonic sword, it was too terrifying. Earth-grade artifact. Very good, it's also mine. Above, Lu Tianyi nodded with satisfaction. Then, he waved his hand and took out a golden seal. Boom! Endless thunder resounded, surrounding the surroundings. The surroundings were surrounded by multicolored light, like a resplendent sun. It was more like a golden sword light that slashed towards Lin Xian. F***CK, that's the golden light seal. Seeing the golden light seal, many people were shocked, and their scalps went numb. The golden light seal was an ultimate technique of the golden light sect. It was extremely powerful and was extremely domineering, terrifying to the extreme. With this golden light seal, Lu Tianyi should be able to contend with a 5-star king. That's for sure. I'm afraid those people are going to be unlucky. Everyone discussed animatedly. One could imagine how terrifying the golden light seal was. Above, Lu Tianyi held the golden light seal in one hand. His entire person was like a god of war as he pressed down with the golden seal. Boom! Boundless golden light shone as the golden seal covered the sky. It was like a golden mountain that came crashing down. Everywhere it passed, the void shattered. Lin Xian was fearless. He held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand, and the aura on his body was extremely sharp. Then, he waved his arm and slashed out. Azure Dragon Break. Boom! The monstrous sword light turned into a black dragon and rushed out, causing the entire void to rumble. In the next moment, the two collided, and a terrifying light burst out. The heavens and earth shook, and the void shattered. The terrifying shockwave blasted all the surrounding martial artists away. The golden light that filled the sky was split apart by the sword. It was like a golden wave that slapped to both sides. Not only that, the golden mountain formed by the golden light seal was pierced through, and a transparent black hole appeared. Clang! The black dragon roared and collided with the golden light seal, immediately pushing Lu Tianyi back. He was pushed back? That's impossible. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not expect that the incomparably powerful Lu Tianyi would be pushed back. Who was that young man? How could he be so powerful? You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.